So hello everyone, and welcome to the first AECSD virtual conference. My name is Arman Melkoman. I'm Secretary General of the AECSD. And let me inform you once again that during the whole conference and the main virtual hall where we are, the function of simultaneous interpretation from Russian into English and vice versa is available for you. You can use the interpretation by clicking on the globe icon in the lower Zoom control panel and selecting the required language. Also, please note that the microphone and video functions are available to you. Please make sure your microphones and videos are turned off. If you want to be on air and ask questions to the speakers, please use the raise your hand button and I will invite you to join me online whenever possible. Now, I will switch into Russian and you are invited to turn on the interpreter channel. Здравствуйте, уважаемые участники первой виртуальной конференции.
Hello, ladies and participants of our 17th annual AECSD conference. I'm General Secretary Arman Melkoman. I will be moderating these sessions throughout the 2 days. We're happy to welcome you in this new format. Now let me tell you about some technical specifications. We're using Zoom as platform. I'm sure all of you know that already. Throughout the conference, in the main room, you will have the availability of simultaneous interpretation. This is available to you by clicking the globe icon at the bottom of the screen. You can also select your microphones and video cameras. Please make sure that your microphones and videos are turned off during the conference. If you want to be heard and ask your question to the speakers, please raise your hand virtually and I will invite you to speak when it is possible. Also, we have a chat available and we have the sponsor materials which are placed there. You can also use the chat function to ask questions to the moderator, tell us about any technical difficulties, and also to share each other, welcome each other, and to exchange contacts. Also, at some point, we will offer you to participate in a survey. So when you have a selection of possible answers, please choose the preferred answer and use it to communicate it to you. My request to all the speakers is to keep within the time limits so that we are on schedule. Also, if there are any questions that emerge during the presentation, during the session, I encourage you to wait until the end of the presentation or session and raise your hand to do that. Now about our agenda. The agenda is available at our AECSD website at the conference activity, conference program tag. We will have one panel discussion and one speaker session each day. So in this new format, we will talk today in the first panel session about business diversification and search for new formats. After during the coffee break, when you have access to sponsors material and visit sponsors breakout rooms, no interpretation will be available in those breakout rooms, unfortunately. But after the coffee break, we will hear some of our speakers on different aspects of blockchain use and digitalization. Following that, we will try to make a group photo and then we'll follow our virtual culture program hosted by the Armenian Central Depository. After that, please don't leave yet, and you will be invited to AECSD breakout rooms to learn more information about the participants. We did our best to offer a format that will not only give you valuable information, but also to talk to colleagues and establish new contacts. We do hope that you will like it, and I wish all of you productive and interesting participants. Now I will deliver the virtual microphone to Director of the Armenian Central Depository, Bagan who will introduce you and introduce the conference. Colleagues and friends, I'm happy to welcome you at the 17th conference of the Association of Eurasian Central Securities Depositors. Because of this special situation, this year we are forced to deliver our conference in the online format. But I'm certain that this insignificant fact will not affect in any way the value and effectiveness of this conference. And it is my hope that next time we will meet more informally or physically, and we will make up for what we were lacking and missing over the 2 years of virtual communication. I wish all of us a successful and a useful day, and please enjoy the conference. I think we can start now. Thank you very much, Vagan. We will start a little bit earlier compared to our official agenda. All of the participants have joined us already. Now let me introduce the moderator of the first panel discussion, our director of Armenian Stock Exchange, Ahik Vaganyan. Hello, Arman. Hello, everyone. I will switch to English for the benefit of the majority of participants.
I'll lead this panel in English, as most of the panelists are English speakers. So I would like to congratulate to AECSD for organizing the 17th International Conference in virtual Armenia. It's unfortunate that we didn't have the chance to meet in person in Armenia, but we hope that we'll see you hopefully next year in Armenia. So hello everyone again, and let's start the panel discussion. And this is the grand opening, I should say, and the topics that we have chosen for this panel discussion are quite interesting. So, but more interesting are the participants, and I would like to present to every one of the participants of this panel discussion 4 people, very well-known international experts in their fields. So it's Mr. Byung-Kyung Go, who is the Director of Global Business Department of Korea Securities Depository, Mr. Vishal Gajar, who is the Vice President of National Settlement Depository of India, Ms. Maria Krasnova, the first Deputy CEO of National Settlement Depository of Russia, and Mr. Philippe Laurency, the General Manager of Europe, Euroclear. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this panel discussion. And to introduce everyone about these topics, I would like to say that, first of all, we will not be targeting the COVID topic, unlike many other conferences now. And instead, I would like to outline that our discussion will be more towards the diversification of the businesses of CSDs. Yes, just a short introduction of myself. I am the CEO of AMX Armenian Securities Exchange, the stock market operator of Armenia, and I am the board member of the CSD Armenia, the Central Depository of Armenia. So I'm very related to the CSD business, and it's a huge portion of our business in a group because the AMX, the stock exchange, owns the Central Depository of Armenia. So going back to our topic discussion, so we have currently the main challenging part of our business, which is the diversification going forward, especially in the new era of disruptive technologies coming in. I think that sooner or later we'll be challenged by these new startups and disruptive technologies, and we'll be challenged of being not very agile. So I would like to ask all the panelists, how do you see the diversification of the CSD business? How do you see the new clients, and how do you see entering into the new segments of the industries, not only in the capital markets, but besides the capital markets? So just to be because we have a very short period of time, I would like to request each panelist to answer to this general question: the diversification of CSD, searching the new clients, entering into new business segments, not related even to the capital markets. So I would like to pass the word to Mr. Byung-Hyun Go from Korea Securities Depository, and then we'll go to Mr. Vishal Gajar, Ms. Maria Krasnova, and Mr. Philip Laurency. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
I'm Byung-Hyun Go from KSD and Director of Global Business Department. And I'm glad to join this AECSD conference, annual conference. And regarding the question, I think, as we all think, we need to diversify our business, our services. We should change it continuously to survive as a going on concern. And we to bring some efficiency and to affect our market in more effective way, we should expand our service areas, including traditional services. Anyway, we should make an all-out effort to find out which new services we can provide to our customers, our clients, and regulatory bodies, and we should be prepared for the new technology emerging from private sectors, like the diversified ledger technology and so on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Go. So the next panelist, Mr. Vishal Gajar, what are your thoughts about business diversification? It's very important to hear about your experience as well, because you're one of the most diversified CSDs within our AECSD. So please share your thoughts and experience as well.
Yeah, hello everyone. This is Vishal Gajar from NSDL India. Thank you, Byung-Hyun, for your insight and giving a good kickstart for this beautiful, excellent conference which we have. So HEC agree that we are one of the most diversified CSD. We have a lot of different, you can say, diversification concentric as well as horizontal. Considering that the segregate account structure we are maintaining in India and mostly in this Asian specific CSDs, we have a good database of our customers. So what we had done, a two-way approach we have adopted. One, we have formed a SBU in beginning, where we have given a lot of different services which is helpful for government as well as the existing customer database. Initially, obviously, the regulatory concerns were there and the responses were not as it is expected, but now you agree that considering the technological developments we have, our initial efforts now giving us the fruits, and considering that the technology is way ahead, much needed thing to provide services, asset service, as well as the direct services which we are providing to our customer. Coming to the point that initially the services which we were providing were quite difficult to do into the regulatory framework which we CSDs are working in, that obviously we are going to cover in our next few presentation. However, name a few which we have settled down in India are tax information network, unique identity network, pension system. So this type of a lot big projects which are of national importance we have established. Now what we have done, we were not providing services directly to the end individual customers. We are providing through our existing channels, taking leverage of that particular benefit which we have across different length and breadth of our country. We were able to give the service more efficiently. So taking a clue from that, we have done a lot of diversification, and obviously it impacted on our financials as well as the level of service which we are providing to the customer, to the different regulatory departments. So I agree, the diversification is the need of our, considering the agile environment we all are in, startup culture, and the technology firms which they are venturing into a business model. So I'm looking forward to hear my other colleagues in this presentation. Thanks. Thanks, Julian.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you. Very interesting insights from India. So, Miss Maria, it would be great to hear your thoughts on this topic. If you may introduce the NSD and the diversification vision of NSD, please.
Hello, I'm happy to welcome all the participants. And in order to encourage the two-language bilingual format, I will rather talk in Russian. I hope that the interpretation will be quite informative. In order to ensure that the important infrastructure functions well, such as the central security depository, a lot of resources are required because there are special requirements which are applied with respect to reliability, technology availability, access to infrastructure for different categories of participants. Some of them may be less advanced technically than others. We need also to fit within the very strict regulatory environment. All this implies that we regularly invest in that, and quite substantially. The risk appetite of central depositories is quite low traditionally, and there is a pressure on terrorists just because of depositories are monopolists on this national markets. Many of us face difficulty in obtaining sufficient revenue to cover our costs. And in order to ensure the development in the right way. So one of the drivers for diversification will be, of course, cost control. And when one of the exclusive function that we perform is trust that market participants have towards us, and also trust on the part of the regulator, which is won by providing regularly available and reliable infrastructure. And this enables the diversification. This makes it possible. Other diversification drivers include market needs and the regulator's preferences in terms of market development. And the extent to which the national market should be included in international global infrastructure. And the question is whether we need foreign investors to be involved or local investors should be preferred. All these issues are addressed successfully by applying systemically important infrastructure, including central securities depositories. Also, the national regulators, as well as infrastructure, are looking at competitive edge. When talking about competition, I'm implying competition with international players as well as the fintech, the organizations which potentially can put to doubt the very existence of the current infrastructure. How shall we respond to those challenges? We imagine that during the years of reforms that the Russian financial infrastructure experienced over the last 10 or 12 years, we demonstrated successful diversification by expanding the selection of services, as well as introduction of new services such as trade repository, electronic document flow services, those which not only help the depositor itself, but also the customers by improving the environment for local investment transactions. And this helps us develop further. As for new and promising business lines, I can name the ESG agenda, which is more and more present, such as carbon units, more services or improved services to the pensions industry. As I said before, trust, reliability, and lack of conflict of interest. These are all the premises for central securities depositories, and that is shown by the example of different depositories all over the world, that this diversification is quite possible and desirable. Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria, for your rich view.
Point of view and experience. And let's hear our last panelist, Mr. Lawrence from Euroclear. Can you please provide us your insights and thoughts about the diversification of the business?
Sure, not an easy position when you're the last speaker on the topic. So thank you very much first for inviting us. Very happy to be with you today and to contribute to this interesting topic. The way we look at CSDs, the CSD is a marketplace, and basically it's a place where investors meet with issuers. And I think that is something that will remain for the long time. Therefore, I think there will always be a role for depositories to play, but indeed we will need to adapt to the new environment, and we're influenced by, I would say, first what customers are looking at. And you mentioned you don't want to talk about COVID, but COVID has changed the behavior of people. And therefore, if people behave differently, that might have an impact on what we do and the way we do things. Regulation is impacting the way we do things. Technology is making easier to make things smoother, easier to access for customers. So we need to take all of those dimensions into account to think about what's new service, what are the new products that we need to deliver. So I think that I see still a long role for the CSDs, keeping what they do today, probably in a more efficient way, in a cheaper way, but certainly in a safer way. I think we are the guardian of assets, and the assets that we hold are probably the pensions of the people in the world. So we need to make sure that that money is safe and well guarded. And we will need to use the new technology to make sure that we can expand the services that we provide. Today, CSDs offer services to wholesale. I think in India, indeed, it's interesting that there is a new dimension going to the retail. We see that in some Nordic countries as well. So to me, the big question is, how do we evolve going towards maybe more beneficial owner type of functions, while keeping the operational efficiency that we know today by having omnibus account and the like. And then the last point that will certainly influence and push us to do things differently and probably new things is, as Maria mentioned, is about ESG. This is a hot topic. Everybody is talking about it. Probably still not very mature. Everybody has his own vision and definition of what ESG means. So it makes our life a bit difficult. But it's definitely something that we will need to focus on. And we will need to leverage data. I think colleagues from India mentioned that they have a lot of data. And indeed, as CSDs, we enjoy data. We probably do not use data as much as we could. And that's probably an area where we will have to focus in the years to come. Voilà, that's my thinking of the topic now.
Mr. Philip Lawrency, thank you very much for your insights. And it is great to hear different experiences from Asia to Europe. And I would like to just raise one general question, which for everyone to think about, and then we'll come back to the main discussion. So you just said that you just raised a good issue, saying that the CSD is a wholesale business generally. So a question to everyone, which I would suggest to discuss at the end. Do you see a need for becoming more retail and kind of cutting out a part of intermediation? And becoming more retail doesn't mean just within the capital markets, but utilizing the experience, the know-how, the technology of the CSD and providing new services, such as you said, it's a marketplace. Well, the marketplace is more for a stock market business, but still something to think about. So just a general question, which will come back at the end of the discussion. So going to the second question, during the first question, we have heard many issues that one of the main challenges of the CSD is being over-regulated, because all the CSDs, but the depository business itself is well regulated, and in many cases it is sometimes over-regulated. So just a general question to everyone, and we'll go person by person. Don't you think that this over-regulation creates obstacles for business development, which consequently creates a business continuity risk, especially in the terms of the key staff? And how would you assess this statement in general? Do you see this over-regulation as a threat? And if yes, it's a threat, to what scale? Just a small clarification. Over-regulation, in my own opinion, doesn't allow you to be agile and doesn't allow you to be very profit-driven and very expensive in terms of business. And when in 21st century you are not that agile and flexible, sometimes these disruptive companies immediately take a huge chunk of a business, and key people go to them because they get overpaid. So a very general question to everyone, and again, let's go by the row. So Mr. Go, if you can just comment on this statement.
Yeah, given our business characteristics, I think it is inevitable for CSDs to be supervised and regulated. But over-regulation could be pain to market participants. As for KSD, we are a public organization in Korea, and we have been heavily regulated by the government. For example, we need to get government approval for personnel or budget management. But it is true that the regulation could act as an obstacle for us to introduce new businesses or incentives and incentivize new system members. As a result, it can be it can be a problem when we try to bring more talented people from the industry. But I think we should consider the situation. We cannot avoid regulation. So by building up more concrete relationship with regulatory bodies, we can communicate with them, and we can promote our new businesses. Then they can understand our desire, our ambition, and then they will provide more sufficient support for CSDs, I think.
Mr. Go, thank you. for your answer. I agree that the relationship with the CSD with the regulator is very important, especially it needs to be give and take. So you need to give the ideas, take the feedback, go back with the ideas again, and try to convince the regulator at the end. So, Mr. Hajar, what are your thoughts about these statements?
Yeah, so I agree that relationship with regulator is the most important point which we have to consider. Now, first of all, to start with, my view is that there is a very thin line difference between regulatory and over-regulatory concerns when we talk about CSD. In Asia Pacific, or when we say the best example, India, we have a duopoly in CSD market. So to eager to provide better service, we have obviously very thin wafer margin financial incentives when we provide services. And in addition to that, over regulations that create a lot of hurdles in expansions as well as in business diversification. So what to a point to make we like to highlight here is that regulatory environment is the most important aspect in financial market, and all the intermediaries, stock exchanges, other clearing corporations, CSD, they all work hand in hand based on the regulatory framework. Now, to have a moderate regulatory environment, there should be two-way communication, that what is the need of market, the condition of market, and it should not be overburdened. That two-way communication is very important, which here luckily we have, it exists regularly. Regulatory authorities, we have communication through mode of meetings, former channels, and we try to convince them to maintain a moderate regulatory environment where business development should also go hand in hand, that it should not impact the at the end custody risk as well as the asset risk if the CSDs are not able to survive properly into the regulated market. So yes, to conclude from our perspective, there should be a convincing balance between regulatory and over-regulatory into the CSD market.
Thank you, Mr. Vishal. The very important issue that you have raised, that we shouldn't risk the assets by going into different businesses. So this is a very cornerstone, I should say, within this discussion. If you want to do a business, you shouldn't risk your fundamental assets. So, Miss Maria, it would be great to hear your thoughts about the regulation, over-regulation relationship, and how whether it's a challenge or maybe it's another way, assistance for business development. Sorry, you are muted.
Прошу прощения, да, как и все в этом мире, вызов, он же является...
Well, just like everything else, challenge implies opportunities. It is true that regulatory burden is significant and continues to grow. This is what we feel as a National Securities Depository, as well as depository that operates internationally in the interests of on behalf of our customers, because other markets regulators also introduce transboundary requirements that we must follow. So it means that overall regulatory burden increases everywhere. At the same time, because of this close attention on the part of regulator, we are able to maintain a dialogue with them, which may influence both intensity of the regulation, not everywhere, not always, but our voice is heard. We do it by acting ourselves as well as part of self-regulatory organizations. At the same time, the regulator understands our business and our internal control and risk management systems, which is absolutely important to make the regulator comfortable about custody of our assets, reliability of operation, transactions, and business continuity. So this regulator's comfort is very important. This is a sort of trust that enables us, by operating through our user committees, of which we have several, to come up with suggestions for regulatory amendment or market development, so that we can suggest regulator how to plan the improvement of regulatory environment to allow us and market players to be more efficient. What is also important is that the regulatory burden is felt more and more by not only by ourselves, but also by our customers. All the market players experience that to a significant extent. Is there any opportunity for infrastructure development through introduction of technologies and application of technology to report generation, for example, or provision of information to market participants? This in itself can provide new opportunities for business development. For example, if the infrastructure pioneers technology use in the interest of other participants, each of them will be freed from that effort, and by paying moderate fee to the infrastructure, they achieve a higher scale, we achieve higher scale and get revenue. All this requires and deserves attention, and we give sufficient attention to that. We believe that this is a matter of future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maria. A good point that the challenge is a new opportunity, actually. This is very important for every one of us. And if we take challenge only as a threat and try to protect ourselves, we won't get anywhere. So a new challenge is a new opportunity, definitely, which needs to be considered, analyzed, and if required, taken new steps towards new business ventures and opportunities. So, Mr. Philip, would be great to hear you, especially knowing that Euroclear has a very diverse group. It's a very diverse group. You are from Europe to Americas, Asia's, and not only in settlement, but in trading, especially funds trading. So you are not a CSD only, but it's a marketplace, as you have mentioned, which is answering one of our questions, the diversification. So please let us know what is your experience with the regulation when you are in different markets, and are you overregulated? Do you think it as a threat or as a challenge?
There's a fine line. What is overregulation versus regulation? We could debate about that for quite some time. There are probably too many regulations coming our way, and probably too quickly. And so the challenge is for us, but also for the financial industry globally, to adapt to those new regulatory environments. And the bigger challenge, I would say, is maybe not the overregulation. There are two dimensions that makes our life, I think, more difficult. Is that sometimes the drafting of the regulation is not as good as it could be, and therefore it does not translate the initial spirit of the regulation and makes everybody's life very difficult. So that's, for me, maybe a bigger impediment than the overregulation itself. And the second one is when you are subject to different regulations coming from different countries, then usually they do not match really well together. And so you face in a situation where if you're compliant with regulation A, you're actually in breach of regulation B. And how do we manage that? So to me, these are the key challenges of the regulatory environment. I would urge regulators to talk more and to try to harmonize their regulatory framework if they want to reduce the overall risk and have a better control of financial market globally, because it is a real global market. Even though we are all operating in different countries, we are interconnected with everybody else in one way or another, either directly or through our customers, and that is, for me, the biggest challenge. Now, is it an impediment to the business and to develop and to be agile? Probably yes. If you look into the roadmap and of the amount of money that we have to spend on regulatory matters versus the amount of money that we have free, I would say, to spend to develop businesses, products, and basically improve, the balance is probably not right. So at least in Europe in the last 5 to 10 years, true for us, but also true for our customers, it was more than 50% of your resources that had to be allocated to regulatory environments. Is that the right balance? I would probably argue no. Who am I to challenge that? I think it's probably also the result of the financial market players that did not behave the way they should. And that is forcing the regulators basically to take measures that are perceived rightly or wrongly as not very pleasant and difficult to manage. So that's the view that we have. I think regulation will continue to be there. There will be more. And what can we do? I think if we as CSDs or market infrastructure can put in place a framework that will ease the regulatory burden for us, but also for our customers, then I think that we will have contributed to make the financial market safer and better.
Thank you, Mr. Philip. A very important idea, the cost benefit. Basically, we are all facing the regulatory requirements which we need to comply, and in order to comply, we need to spend huge amount of money which could have been spent on development of new products, services outside of the capital markets even, but we are spending this money for complying. But we have missed one topic in this discussion, which I would like to smoothly pass to the third question and discuss this topic, combining with the third question. We are thinking about complying with the regulation. We are thinking about protecting the assets, which is right. We have to do it, but we are missing one thing. You know, there is this disruptive technologies, blockchain, I don't know, crypto assets, something new, which maybe fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for diversification, development opportunities, but unfortunately for us, some of the clients of ours, they are starting to entrust something else completely out of the scope, unregulated environment, a blockchain technology, crypto asset, and the challenge and the threat that I'm feeling is that if we stay closed in our environment somehow, that we have the regulator, we have our conventional business, then so we might miss that there might be an asset outflow. So if we stay overregulated, and parallel to us, we have a parallel reality in the world, unfortunately, that people are going to unregulated sphere of operation, and people are cashing out fiat money or kind of cashing out their securities, regulated securities, and going to the crypto securities. So I'm changing my third question, which we all pre-agreed somehow, and this is a question both for us and for the regulators as well as a recommendation. How do you feel it in general? Don't you see as a big threat for the industry in general? What if one day we wake up and we realize that people don't need our regulated services, unfortunately, anymore, because there is an unregulated new parallel world which they trust more, which is kind of, I have this general question. There is no one to take to the court, but people trust it more. And, you know, we are kind of in these big discussions, but then there is this parallel reality. So the third question, let's discuss this idea of parallel reality, and let's try to sum up this kind of panel with, is there any feedback that we can provide to the regulators based on this discussion. So, Mr. Go, if we can start from.
Can I delay my reply later? I have to think about this issue for a while.
No problem. Whoever is ready, Mr. Gishar, Philip, whoever is ready. So please unmute and go on. Yeah, Miss Maria.
Спасибо, Айк. Интересный вопрос. Но как бы я на него ответила, я не думаю.
Thank you, Haik. It's a very interesting question. This is what I can say. I don't think that the threat comes from the very existence of non-regulated environment where anyone can do anything. On the contrary, the investor would be interested to have their rights protected and confirmed. The question is, how can they do that on the basis of new technology? And this is an important question. Will the technology become as mature as to replace the conventional practice of confirmation of securities rights and confirmation of the basic execution of the basic depository functions? Well, I think what we should think more about is change in behavioral patterns of consumers. Younger generation does not care as much about contracting or making a call in order to sell or buy an asset to have their rights executed. I believe that the main driver for change in the conventional infrastructure stays in the realm of solving new requirements, new needs of investors and issuers. Will we make use of distributed ledger technology? Maybe yes, or maybe no. And maybe on the wave of this interest in fintech, some new approaches and ways will emerge to perform the basic functions which are now taken care of the infrastructure. What the infrastructure does is to address the trust issue. So there's someone whose word about the ownership of asset or settlement is absolutely reliable and acceptable for the court of law or for anyone else. How will this be addressed in future? To allow all the investors, private, institutional, the government, the regulator, enabling them to make sure that they can trust that technology. This will happen sooner or later. Our challenge and our goal is to be able to transform in response to this change in consumer behavior. How can we respond to that? By applying our financial, administrative, and technological resources. What can we do to change ourselves in response to the changing world and its changing needs? This is probably the most interesting question to discuss, even to the extent of futurology and strategy development. We're looking at our colleagues who have one layer system. Our colleagues from India are developing successful projects, both in standard business line and in adjacent areas. And it's very interesting how central depository functions can be applied for socially significant agenda. And this is a quite impressive result. I think this experience deserves careful examination, and this is what we can do both within our association and in other business associations.
Well said that yes, we need to consider this changes and we need to adapt and we need to develop. But again, we are going back to the standard question. Look, we have the shareholders and we have the regulators. Most of our shareholders are the regulators of the governments themselves. And on the other hand, again, I want to come back to the question that I raised. We have this parallel reality. And you're right. Nowadays, the new generation, they don't expect to sign any papers or to go to the office or to make a phone call. They are used to taking the phone and just clicking and having the asset. And then if required, to convert this asset into a cash in the bank account so that they can spend it. Even more nowadays,
some of the shops have started to accept. I'm not talking about e-commerce, they are accepting all over the places, but even the offline shops, they are starting to accept cryptocurrencies. And again, I'm a bit worried that by the time we are discussing how to go forward and we are going to our regulator and discussing with our regulators that we want to expand our businesses, we want to expand our services in order to keep the staff, to keep the business development and the business continuity in general. By the time we are discussing it, there is a huge asset outflow from our industry because the new generations, again, they convert their wages, they convert their income into a crypto asset, unfortunately. Again, so isn't this a threat, this pace of movement or the pace that we are trying to adapt into the new realities in the 21st century, 2021, into this new terminology, the agile world? So please, whoever is ready, Mr. Philip.
I think it's certainly an interesting topic, and I don't think anybody has the answer, and things are moving very fast. What we need to do, I think, is to try to understand what does the crypto world bring. Okay, today, indeed, you see the young generation, they put a lot of their assets into crypto. Why do they do it? Do they do it because it's easy? I think they do it because there is a potential very short profit to be made. Could be, it is crypto today, but it could be anything else. The day they will have kids, they will probably spend their money a bit differently and maybe take less risk, because today, at least in the crypto world, I'm probably getting too old, but I do not understand the fundamentals of why it goes up or it goes down, except that somebody on the other side of the ocean tweets something, and then suddenly there is a plus 20%, and the next day it's minus 30%. But probably my age is not helping me here. So for me, we need to try to understand what is the crypto world bringing. We are, and cash is, I guess, much easier than securities. And move it. We will for sure live with a dual market, because there is no way we will be able to transfer the existing assets into a crypto world, even if we decide to start issuing only crypto tomorrow. So there will be a parallelism between two markets for quite some time. We need to think about the benefit of a crypto asset. We are probably, most of us, in a dematerialized environment. There is no paper anymore. We do electronic voting. COVID has helped us to basically move to electronic signature. So, and the technology allows us to do all of that much faster than in the past. So these are important questions. And will that market remain unregulated for a long period of time? That I do not believe so. And you see that very quickly happening in quite a number of countries, where when its use becomes too important, then the regulator says, but wait a minute, I'm the one managing my reserves, I'm the one managing money supply. What is the potential global macroeconomic impact on my country if I let that happen? So I believe that it will not remain unregulated for very long. And so again, as we discussed earlier, we will need to see as market infrastructure, how can we contribute? We will probably need to be able to manage those assets in the coming future. I would say between 5 and 10 years, something is likely to happen. And the big challenge for us will be to manage the dual world, i.e. a crypto world and a traditional world.
Thank you, Mr. Philip. So from India or Korea, any feedback?
Yeah, Hank. So I'd like to add 2 points here. I think Maria and Philip have a good insight in this, that we have to build confidence that the existing infrastructure and the asset classifications which are there, which are traditionally tested model of investment, are also the good investment option. Obviously, we cannot stop the changing dynamic considering the crypto example which we have. Now we have to see the other side also, that there is a big business opportunity, that CSD, we are providing the services for managing the assets. So we have to tighten our all the threats, and we have to be ready for this fast moving technological developments. So if we move considering or assuming that that is not going to challenge our traditional model, so we may lose the edge which we all have currently. So we have to change in according with the younger generation choice, or their way of opting for investments. So this is the question between the traditional and the which are available. So we also have faced this challenge that younger generation go for paperless, without vest signature, whatever the available option, they go for it first instead of the traditional one. So my take on this is, yes, we have to face this, not now, but coming down the line, that century which we have after say 10 years, we have to be ready for this next upcoming whatever business models which we have in hand. So this is what is my take on this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vishal.
And in my opinion, these days we are hearing about news in relation with the new technology like blockchain or distributed ledger technologies. But I know some CSDs like DTC are trying to adopt those new technology to their settlement process in your future. And of course, KSD is also carrying out some POC project in relation with the new technologies. But my point is that we don't know whether those new technology can be really adapted to our core businesses in near future. So we should monitor those trends, those new technologies, and we should study the feasibility of the adoption of new technologies. But we don't need to be so scary about those new technologies. So we will see where the world is moving toward. But I think we should be calm, and we should be ready to those new trends.
Okay, thank you, dear panelists. And we have a comment in the chat from John saying that although many people will trade in crypto, but at the time when they face the problem of cashing out and face the problem of not delivery of their money, so they converted their cash from the bank account into something dodgy or unknown, and then they cannot receive any cash back. At that moment, they will run back to the regulated services, which I partially agree as well, but the trend is a bit worrying, unfortunately enough. So the third question to finalize this would be, as a suggestion, I would say, so we have the third survey question. Do you get enough level of support from your local regulator for your initiatives? But a topic that I would like to suggest, a very short yes or no, and if yes, then follow it up with AECSD, is that we have discussed interesting topics. We see threats and challenges, and we also see within these threats and challenges new opportunities, which we need to discuss with our regulators, because without them, we cannot do anything new. So I suggest to come back to those issues again within 6 months period, but within this period to have a white paper recommendation to the regulators. So all of us together, if Arman doesn't mind, we ask Arman to coordinate this small mini project. And if you, of course, don't mind, to come together to have this intelligence exchange, and within a few months period have a white paper, a recommendation for regulators, and not only the regulators, but a recommendation for all of us. But again, we can do something new if the regulators approve it. So what do you think? Would you like to join to this initiative? Please, whoever is up, if you object, you can say that you don't have time or you objected, but I think this is an interesting topic, that at least a paper as a recommendation for the regulators is an important thing to have. It's a starting point. It's a cornerstone. It's a starting point of something, you know, and it gives us an opportunity to explore, examine these parallel world realities, what's going on. Because it's not only the young generation, but unfortunately, I see multi-billion-dollar funds investing into assets which are not safe kept by the CSD. Whereas those billions could have been again invested into the assets which were kept by us. So a huge portion of business is running out for some of the reasons, because I don't know, there are different reasons which need to be addressed and discussed with our regulators. Or maybe we have to review our model of regulation, and I don't know, well, most probably the regulation, I should say. So this is an offer kind of to all of us to join into this initiative. And just, I think we'll spend another few hours, maybe once a month or twice a month, to get together and discuss, and then ask Arman to write down this final white paper. What do you think? Please, any of you.
I'll give it a try. The problem we have is probably there are many regulators that are governing the different CSDs of the association, and they probably have a different view. So maybe we need to understand for each market, or which market we want to address first, but what's the position of the regulator vis-a-vis crypto assets, be it the currency or be it securities. I think we need to streamline a little bit the effort, because otherwise it's going to be probably a bit too wide, and then in 6 months' time we will probably not be very far.
Just to clarify, it's not only about crypto assets. This is just a recommendation that shall they allow us to conduct other businesses? This is very important, because look, during this session, what we heard that, and we all know that this is nothing new. First of all, we are all technology driven, and thank God we all have a good technology in-house or outsourced, but we know how to develop technology. We know how to develop technology for safekeeping the assets, for safekeeping information. This is our know-how. This is where we are champion in the world, in related to any other businesses. We know how to safekeep the assets. We have a challenge. We have two challenges: the low tariffs and the regulation itself. Because if you are regulated, you are not agile, unfortunately enough. But you are not allowed to be not agile in 21st century, because this is a global trend. You have to be agile. You have to be fast adapting. But the regulation, whatever we say, it doesn't allow us to be very fast and agile, unfortunately. So we have the know-how, we have the technology, we know how to keep the assets. We have the trust. We have the trust from the clients. We have the trust from the governments itself. So we have this know-how, we have the trust, we have the technology. Why shouldn't we enter into other spheres? For example, like in India, they maintain the tax accounts. For example, in Armenia, we do maintain the pension accounts. All pension accounts are maintained with the depositor. But why only pension accounts, or why only tax accounts? Maybe we can maintain the e-governance. For example, the e-government, e-citizen. So you become the partner of the government, and everything is entrusted you. So if you become such a large-scale entrusted partner, maybe this maybe even these crypto guys will come to you and ask you to provide them the service of safekeeping the assets because you are becoming the most trustworthy. But in order to get to that level, you should be allowed to conduct other businesses, safekeeping businesses, like, I don't know, higher education certificates. Nowadays, unfortunately, we are witnessing that people are losing their homelands and they are becoming refugees without any single paperwork. Going to new countries, they cannot prove that they have had anything before in their home country. Whereas if all those assets were safe kept at the CSD and backed up in another country, you could have recovered all the information all in one. So this is a general recommendation which I'm thinking to put forward to the regulators in a white paper, kind of. If you can allow us, then we'll definitely expand our businesses service, expand our businesses further, utilizing our know-how, our technology, and the trust that we have. So this is a recommendation. If you are all in, I would appreciate. I'm in, and we can just have a few other sessions coordinated by Harman, and then kind of come up to a suggestion paper. So this is the suggestion, and let's finalize our interesting discussion with the answers of the questions. So you have the first survey answer. Do you think the CSDs need to diversify the business? Well, it's good to see at least that 50% think that they need to diversify in any direction they can. So you see, people also agree with us because they know that we can do the business in the right way. We can handle their information in the right way. And why not to do it? So Arman, what is the second, please? Do we need micro level regulation assigned upon CSDs, or the industry plus the competition will force the CSD business to self-regulate? Yes, but general oversight might have been better to allow this development. Well,
so more people say that yes, but general oversight might have been better to allow business development. Что да, но общий надзор мог быть бы лучше для развития бизнеса центральных депозитариев.
Well, look, this is a good fundamental starting point for the white paper, a recommendation for the regulator.
И есть даже один участник, который говорит, что нам больше не нужен регулятор.
Okay. And there's even one participant that said we do not need any regulation anymore.
Okay, this is a very interesting outcome. The second question, especially, that 72%, the vast majority, think that we need just a framework. And the third question is, do we need enough level of support from your local regulator for your initiatives? Do we get it? Well, okay. Look, here, the outcome is that, okay, that we do receive support from the regulator, but not everyone is happy with the level of the support. This is what I get from the answer. But guys, please, you comment as well. What are your thoughts about these answers and the outcomes of the questions? Please, any of you.
If the experience they're supportive, but obviously they have to play their role as well to make sure that we do not go wild. But usually if you have a good rationale for what you want to do it, and this is within the risk appetite that they consider applicable to an FMI, then usually they provide us the right support.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, in my opinion, we should think about our role as a financial market infrastructure. I mean, as a traditional CSD, we are considered as a financial market infrastructure. So, in the view of regulators, then it means CSD should be protected and separated from any crisis. So, before we contact regulators about deregulation, we should prepare some measures to persuade them. And after that, we should persuade them the needs why we need to expand our service areas. By doing that, we can achieve our goals. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, so I agree that Byung has raised the point regarding the asset risk. So regulator, basically they, what is there in their mind is about the asset safety. So we have to move in such a way and represent that asset custody, this all risk which we are managing since long, we have to be given some leverage to expand our businesses in such a way that a balance is maintained, and we have to all represent in such a way that agreement will come, and yes, certain relaxation will obviously help CSDs to expand the business and have a better services with a view that both this challenges which are coming in front of us, this new startups and all the technological developments. So that will obviously help. That we can obviously have a note on that.
Thank you, thank you. I really agree with you, Mr. Gaja, that we shouldn't risk the, say, safekeeping business, the conventional business. And for that reason, usually, especially if Euroclear structure, you see a holding and you see many different companies under the holding or related. So usually you segregate the risk to another legal entity. So if you want to start a new business, you start with another legal entity. So this is one of the solutions, which is actually an acceptable way, because I see it in many countries. So not a single entity conducting the risk to take to concentrate the risks. Guys, I think, but we are close. We are getting closer to the end of the panel. I think we are over time, but Arman allowed us to go a bit over time. So thank you all very much for this interactive discussion. It was a really great pleasure for me to moderate this panel. And I really hope that we'll have this opportunity to get back together within next 6 months and to come up with a recommendation of that kind of white paper for the industry in general. I shouldn't say the regulator, but it's for the industry. Philip, you have anything to say? So I see you have unmuted.
No. Thank you very much for giving us the chance to participate to the panel. I wish you good luck for the rest of the conference.
Thank you, and I wish these 2 days to be very thoughtful and insightful for all the participants, panelists, the speakers, and to be a great intelligence exchange event, so that everybody will learn something new, and it will kind of help us to develop the industry further. So I wish everyone a good luck in their businesses and in their endeavors. And I am very much looking forward to seeing you again very soon. And thank you, Arman and CDA, for organizing this event.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Большое спасибо Айку Игоняну и всем спикерам.
I'd like to thank very much Haik Iganyan Again, Jan and all the panelists for this exciting discussion. I'm sure this information was useful for the audience. Now we are taking a small coffee break. We suggest that we break for 20 minutes, in which time you can pick up a cup of tea and you can view sponsors materials. We prepared some surprises for on the part of the association and the host of the conference, Armenia. You can also visit sponsored breakout rooms. We thank our sponsors, the Central Depository of Kazakhstan and Verspil. You will be able to visit the breakout rooms and listen to the presentation there. And you can talk to companies' representatives. There will be no simultaneous interpretation provided in the breakout rooms, but we will be back here in the main room in 20 minutes to continue the conference.
Who we are. We are a diverse group of the central depositories from all over Eurasia, joined by common goals and values, and aimed at building our future through cooperation.
Հարգելի գործընկերներ, սիրելի հյուրեր եւ ընկերներ, սիրով ողջունում եմ ձեզ Արևաշատ Հայաստանից։ Ցավոք այս տարի նույնպես ստիպված ենք մեր հանդիպումն անցկացնել այս ֆորմատով, բայց վստահ եմ, որ այն որևէ կերպ չի ազնի մեր կոնֆերանսի էֆեկտիվության վրա։ Այնպես որ բարի գալուստ, բոլորիս հաջողություն։
Добрый день, коллеги! Приветствуем вас из Республики Беларусь. Желаем вам успешной двухдневной плодотворной работы на конференции. Увидимся. Всего вам самого наилучшего.
Қайырлы күн. Баршаңызға Қазақстаннан сәлем. Сіздерге 2 күндік конференцияға қатысуда сәттілік тілейміз. Көріскенше.
2021년도 유라시아 예탁결제회사 협의회 연차 총회를 개최를 진심으로 축하드립니다. 내년에는 건강하고 밝은 모습으로 직접 뵐 수 있기를 희망합니다.
Уважаемые коллеги, я сказал, что можно пройти в индивидуальный зал, но не сказал, где найти. У вас...
I advised you to go to the breakout rooms, but I did not specify how to do that. Each of you should see the breakout rooms tab, which you can use to go from one breakout room to another, or you can go back to the main room, which can be located in the lower control panel, or to the right or to the left of your screen, depending on your layout. Thank you, and we continue in the coffee break.
Уважаемые коллеги, дорогие друзья, Национальный расчетный депозитарий приветствует вас из Москвы. Желаем вам успехов, благополучия и процветания.
سلام از تاجیکستان به همکسبانم از اساتید محفوظ ها و شما ثمرات گذراندن مجلس سالانه را تمنا дорам.
Добрий день! Вас вітає Національний депозитарій України. Я, Олексій Юдін та команда НДУ з нетерпінням чекаємо 17-ї міжнародної конференції Асоціації центральних депозитарів Євразії.
Aziz do'stlar, konferensiya ishtirokchilarini O'zbekiston Markaziy depozitariyasi va o'z nomimdan samimiy qutlayman. Anjumanimiz samarali va ijobiy natijalarga boy bo'lishini tilab qolaman. Ko'rishguncha do'stlar.
What we are looking for. We strive to create a common depository space for all our members by assisting harmonization, standardization, and proliferation of knowledge. We support our members in establishing new links among each other, developing advanced products, and reforming their markets. During decades since the creation of the association, we have evolved, learned, introduced new projects, and become a vital part of the international CSD community. We have expanded the scope of our events, established a network of cooperation with our partners, both within and outside Eurasia. We provide our members with all possible assistance and support. But even more important are those personal ties and bonds that we have built within our community. After years of joint work, we can definitely state that we're not just colleagues, we are friends. And together we achieve evolution through diversity and success, through amity and cooperation.
The CSD is the central depository in the Republic of Kazakhstan. Our story begins in 1997 and continues to be dynamic and evolving. The path from paper to digital was long, but the key indicators keep growing constantly. Today, we focus on transforming IT architecture, improving customer services, increasing interdepository relations, and promoting Kazakhstan stock market liquidity growth. We strive to achieve greater integration with international capital markets to the global post-trading infrastructure to make every client satisfied.
Who we are. We are a diverse group of the central depositories from all over Eurasia, joined by common goals and values, and aimed at building our future through cooperation.
Հարգելի գործընկերներ, սիրելի հյուրեր եւ ընկերներ, սիրով ողջունում եմ ձեզ Արևաշատ Հայաստանից։ Ցավոք այս տարի նույնպես ստիպված ենք մեր հանդիպումն անցկացնել այս ֆորմատով, բայց վստահ եմ, որ այն որևէ կերպ չի ազդի մեր կոնֆերանսի էֆեկտիվության վրա։ Այնպես որ բարի գալուստ, բոլորիս հաջողություն։
Добрый день, коллеги! Приветствуем вас из Республики Беларусь. Желаем вам успешной двухдневной плодотворной работы на конференции. Увидимся. Всего вам самого наилучшего.
Қайырлы күн. Баршаңызға Қазақстаннан сәлем. Сіздерге 2 күндік конференцияға қатысауда сәттілік тілейміз. Көріскенше.
2021년도 유라시아 예탁결제회사 협의회 연차 총회를 개최를 진심으로 축하드립니다. 내년에는 건강하고 밝은 모습으로 직접 뵐 수 있기를 희망합니다.
Кутмандык негіздерінен Қырғызстандың борбордық сипаттарының ысық сабақ конференцияға игілікті қатысуыңызды қалаймыз. Саламатта болыңыздар.
Уважаемые коллеги, дорогие друзья, Национальный расчетный депозитарий приветствует вас из Москвы. Желаем вам успехов, благополучия и процветания.
سلام از تاجیکستان به همکسبانم از اساتذه محفوظ ها و شما ثمرات گذراندن مجلس سالانه را تمنا дорам.
Добрий день! Вас вітає Національний депозитарій України. Я, Олексій Юдін та команда НДУ з нетерпінням чекаємо 17-ї міжнародної конференції Асоціації центральних депозитарів Євразії.
Aziz do'stlar, konferensiya ishtirokchilarini O'zbekiston Markaziy depozitariyasi va o'z nomimdan samimiy qutlayman. Anjumanimiz samarali va ijobiy natijalarga boy bo'lishini tilab qolaman. Ko'rishguncha do'stlar.
What we are looking for. We strive to create a common depository space for all our members by assisting harmonization, standardization, and proliferation of knowledge. We support our members in establishing new links among each other, developing advanced products, and reforming their markets. During decades since the creation of the association, we have evolved, learned, introduced new projects, and become a vital part of the international CSD community. We have expanded the scope of our events, established a network of cooperation with our partners, both within and outside Eurasia. We provide our members with all possible assistance and support. But even more important are those personal ties and bonds that we have built within our community. After years of joint work, we can definitely state that we're not just colleagues, we are friends. And together we achieve evolution through diversity and success, through amity and cooperation.
Уважаемые гости конференции, прошу возвращаться в основной зал, и мы будем продолжать.
Okay, it's time to come back to the main room, and we are about to continue. For our newcomers, let me remind you that interpretation is done simultaneously. It is available by clicking the globe icon at the bottom of your screen.
Please know that the simultaneous interpretation functions are available for you. You can choose the language in the lower control panel of Zoom by clicking the globe icon. Thank you. Коллеги, пожалуйста, следите за тем, чтобы ваши микрофоны были выключены. Если вы
You are advised to mute your mics unless you are planning to say something that all the rest need to hear.
Вы уже здесь? So, Monica, hello. Are you here with us already? Monica, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's so beautiful. It feels like
It's
I'm
our
coming
pleasure
home.
to see you.
Oh, I love being here. Hi,
So let me
everybody.
introduce you, and then the floor is yours, okay? Уважаемые гости конференции, мы начинаем нашу сессию презентаций.
Now, dear guests, we're starting our session with presentation of our speakers. We are about to talk about blockchain, new technology that changed the market. The presenter will be head of the Consensus, which is the world's largest blockchain company, Professor Monica Singer, who many of you must know.
So we can see that you shared your screen and we can see the presentation, everything works well. So we're excited to hear you. Yes.
Excellent. I'm excited to be here. Thank you. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to everybody, the association, Armand, Maria, so nice to see you, everybody. Very happy to be here. Thank you. So my job today is I've got 20 minutes to explain a very complex topic because it's very disruptive to the way we have been trained until now. And as you know, I was the CEO of Straight, the Central Securities Depository of South Africa. I left 4 years ago because I could see the changes coming. But I can assure you that 4 years ago, I did not see what I'm going to tell you today. That's how much the changes are dramatic. And they are dramatic in the same way that I'm sure many of you still have a collection of CDs somewhere in the house, but you don't ever touch them because you use Spotify, or you don't take taxis anymore, you take Ubers, or, you know, when I was a little girl, I had an Encyclopedia Britannica. And now, of course, we don't use anything of that nature. We use Google. And then we also have, I confess, some videos at home that we never use. I don't think I've got a video machine anymore, but I've got the videos. I don't know why. And we use the streaming. And in the same way that all these industries have dramatically changed in a very short time, really, the finance, the world of finance is completely changing. And I'm going to show you how. And I'm speaking from experience. As Armand presented, I work for Consensus, the biggest blockchain company in the world. So everything that I'm telling you is what we are building for clients today. And that's why this is not a figment of my imagination. We have to admit that we still have settlement times that are not up to standard. You know, the world is not tolerating T+2 or T+3. They want immediate settlement. We still have many rules and regulations that have made our back offices full of people, full of compliance. Yes, and there's a purpose. But we now know there's a new technology that it doesn't need so many people and so many rules, because we have moved the trust from intermediaries to code. So the trust is in code, and that is the key concept that blockchain came and brought to the world. We also know that blockchain is saying you don't need silos, you don't need the books and records of the CSD, the custodian bank, the brokers, the stock exchange, the central securities depository. What would happen if all of the actors are able to see the single version of the truth, one ledger, real time, immediate settlement, and no reconciliations, and no delays, and massive reduction in cost? And that really all happened when in 2008, the Bitcoin white paper, created by someone, we don't know who he or she or they are, called Satoshi Nakamoto, said, we need to modify financial markets, and we will do it through this blockchain technology. And then something even more incredible happened in 2014. A very young Russian kid called Vitalik Buterin, he came up with the idea of Ethereum. And Ethereum, what it has is an improvement to Bitcoin as a platform, because it has smart contracts. And smart contract is the ability to program the technology. What does it mean? It's very simple. A smart contract is, if this happens, therefore that happens. So imagine that we can absolutely automate corporate actions. What does it mean? Corporate actions is on payment day, these are the shareholders, this is the amount we pay. We don't have to have reconciliations, ensure that all the registers are up to date, or talk to anybody, or even look in the newspaper to see what the announcement is. You program that in the smart contract. You also program the KYC and the AML, so even when you load the client, all of that gets automated. So that also reduces a lot of the paperwork, a lot of the time-consuming processes that we have in our back office. The other thing that is for me fascinating, as you know, many of us in the CSD world, at least in South Africa, we could never tell the issuer real time who was trading the shares. Why? Because we don't have in South Africa beneficial ownership disclosure in the register. So in order to get that information, we have to get the data from custodians, from brokers, from nominee administrators, and then give that complete share register to the issuer, which is not good enough, because the issuer needs to know who's buying and selling the shares, and we were never able to do that. So other countries have reduced that risk because you've got a beneficial owner disclosure in the CSD. But imagine if instead of having silos and having this wall garden where the register kept by the CSD is only under the control of the CSD. Imagine if that register, if the CSD now becomes the one that keeps the ecosystem, and the same register, the same record of the truth is kept by the CSD, but all the actors get the same information at the same time. Imagine what it does to your market. And then also we've seen that this tokenization of many types of instruments, and I'll cover them today, will allow you new products and services, payment in real time. Remember, no working hours, no public holidays. It's really inaccessible from anywhere in the world, because remember, we're talking about the internet, not anymore mainframes, not anymore Swift messages. This is the internet, and it's a game changer. And the other thing that is fascinating is one of the topics that we've been discussing for years and years and years is to link each other. And linking of CSDs is quite a process when you use Swift messages. But in this new technology, linking is absolutely a no-brainer. It's the way of the technology. It allows all the actors to be part of the same ledger. The other thing that you have to understand is the paradigm shift. As you know, most financial markets, traditional financial markets, what we have is we trade equities, bonds, money market instruments, derivatives, but we never really thought that we could bring, for example, let's say, yes, we do trade, real estate, but it's not in the same way that you are able to achieve it if you tokenize it. So what this tokenization concept has brought to the world is the ability to actually, I'll give you an example, the industry, the funds industry, the mutual fund industry, that industry that relies in the registrar and in the asset manager buying the portfolio and then having someone else to deal with the clients and the segregation of duties. All of that industry completely can be disrupted because you can now buy the assets, you tokenize them, and then you can issue them real time as tokens, as portions of fractions. And if you can do that, then the asset manager will not need to rely on all these other intermediaries that are in the supply chain of mutual funds. That's just to give you one example. And then in the last year, really, we have seen an explosion of, for example, non-fungible tokens, which is fine art and music, and many things that are coming to the market and are being traded in an open source platforms that I'll discuss in a minute. And therefore, it brings about the probability that CSDs, if they wanted to expand their role, they could become the custodians of all these new tokens that are coming to the market. This is another example of the types of tokens that can be brought. We're talking to private equity investors that they want more liquidity. They want to be able to experience the efficiencies, or the speed, the liquidity, the access to other shareholders that listed companies can experience. But now in the Internet of Value, you have now opened your market to the world. The ability to collateralize. I was with a project at Straight trying to collateralize. It was a project with 4 or 5 CSDs with Clearstream. It was a long-term project. It took many years, a lot of money to actually achieve collateralization of shares in one market into another. In this technology, it's just a simple really journal entry in the internet. So it facilitates ideas that have never been before possible because you're now using the same standards in the Ethereum platform, which we call it ERC standards, and they're all integrated and interoperate in this Internet of Value. So as you can see, nobody can deny that our system, the plumbing that we created, and we didn't know any better. We just knew we had to create the central securities depository, the clearing house, the custodian banks, and all the intermediaries to add to the credibility and the security for the transactions for investors. And the poor investor could never connect the investor, the buyer to the seller because there are so many intermediaries. In the new world order, the two investors, the buyer and the seller, connect to each other real time. And that's why you must read Satoshi's paper that talks about peer-to-peer. Peer-to-peer enables you to connect to anybody in the world, and you don't have to rely on all these other technologies and intermediaries, and it can be real time. And it's open 24/7, and they achieve fractional ownership. The settlement is instantaneously. The liquidity and the market depth, of course, grows because you're now attracting liquidity from anywhere in the world. The smart contracts gives you the flexibility for the interest, the redemptions, the dividends, all of those actions that we responsible for in a CSD, you will program them into these transactions. The compliance gets automated. Now imagine that everybody can see the same version of the ledger real time. So you bring the auditors, they will also be able to see this real time. Your whole regulatory environment can be programmed so that your regulators can see your transactions real time. So this all reduces your direct cost, and therefore it makes you much more exciting for investors. In many of our markets, at least in South Africa, the only high net worth individuals can invest in the stock market. Why? Because the costs are prohibited. But now, because you've reduced the cost, the barrier of entry completely reduces. And that's why we are seeing that this new technology will increase financial inclusion in so many areas. And of course, asset on interoperability, that I will show you how it works. And this is the other thing that for me, I'm still in shock. In South Africa, whenever we wanted to implement any changes, it will take 2 to 3 years to implement any changes to the technology. As you know, waterfall, project management, mainframe, Swift messages, all the changes to everybody's, the banks, the brokers, the central bank, everybody had to be coordinated. In this new technology, it really happens in a couple of months. In months, you can have a system up and running. Why? Because the technology has been built, you just rent the space, either in the enterprise Ethereum, which is private permission, or in the mainnet, which is public permissionless. And you choose where you go, how to put it together, and it's quite simple. The other thing that we know, the central banks are all talking about central bank digital currencies. This is going to be a game changer. We have the wholesale that is going to affect settlement. We have the resale that is going to replace cash. All of these changes are going to affect the way the capital markets operate. We also know, for example, that most central banks are going to use a method, it's called the two-tier approach, whereby even though the central bank digital currency is a liability on the central bank, they will ask other service providers to hold the record. They will not open accounts on behalf of the individual. It depends on the country. Some countries go direct, some countries go via the two-tier approach. But eventually, I just want you to know, everybody will have a wallet. The moment that every single person in the country has a wallet, they will start learning about not only central bank digital currencies, but also about cryptocurrencies, about stable coins, about investing in any type of tokenized product that will be available in the markets. This is just, Armand will circulate my slides. You can read it later. There's a lot of information in the slide. And it's just to show you that there are many types of DVP. DVP is not anymore delivery versus fiat, central bank issued money. It's also DVP could be delivery versus ETH, crypto, delivery between two tokens, delivery versus payment between cryptocurrencies and stable coins, and all these new types of monies that are being created. So I don't want you to get stuck neither on traditional banking, making it faster, or in the fintech reality. What I need you to know is to move to the real world that we are building, which is called decentralized finance. This is the game changer. Why? And I'm going to explain why. And this is, for me, something that I didn't dream that it could ever happen. It started 2 years ago, and now it's exploding. So traditional decentralized finance is building a new financial system. It's all based in code. There are no buildings. There's no shareholders, board of directors, employees, nothing. It's just a smart contract. We call it a protocol in a computer, in the internet, where you go in, you can ask for loans, you can trade your shares, you can do absolutely everything that is being done in traditional finance. And that's why already, look at this. This is just the beginning. There's already 17,000 protocols available in the DeFi ecosystem, 17. And they all replace traditional finance, all of them. So the biggest risk for us in CSDs is we rely on the level of transactions on the stock exchange. But if stock exchanges are not migrating to this DeFi environment or concepts, the risk is that there won't be a pipeline for us to settle transactions. And therefore, this is going to create a massive change in the work we do. So I'll give you just a simple example of what happened this year. Uniswap is one of these DeFi protocols that does automated market making. You can swap any crypto. It's open source. It's so open source that someone went and took the code, copied the code, and created a competitor called SushiSwap. That was amazing. But I'm comparing here Coinbase. Coinbase is a cryptocurrency exchange. It's listed on the NASDAQ, and today it's valued around $65 billion US. And the volumes in Uniswap, which has no buildings, no listings, no nothing, just a smart contract, the volumes in Uniswap are higher than in Coinbase. So already something that we thought it was marvelous, the centralized finance on crypto, has already been displaced by a decentralized finance protocol. This is also an incredible statistics. You can read this, the New York Stock Exchange, in 228 years, they have done 2,800 trading pairs. Uniswap in 1 year has done 36,000. Do you understand what this means for traditional finance? Aave is a protocol that you can go in, you put collateral, your ETH or your Bitcoin as collateral, and they give you loans. They give you loans. They don't ask you your name. They don't ask you your race or which country you live from, you live in. You don't ask you for a payslip, nothing. They just want, put the collateral, we give you the loan. This is replacing banking, because who's going to go to a bank that applies very old thinking in the way they grant the loans? This is Aave. And Aave now has decided as a decentralized protocol to apply for an electronic money institution license. So that means that the DeFis are becoming regulated. Then we also know that the Swiss exchange, it's used to have this private permission ecosystem. Now they realize they need to move to the Ethereum platform, which will allow them to interact with DeFi. This is also incredible. I don't know if you read this, but when I read this a month ago, I fell off my chair. You've got SocGen, a traditional bank, issuing a bond and going to make a DAO, who's a DeFi protocol, and saying, please allow this bond that we're going to issue as collateral for your loans, so your money. So give me your MakerDAI, new money, stablecoin, in return for my collateral, which is a traditional bond. And this is happening today. So as you can see, the mixture of traditional finance with DeFi is taking place. We also heard, I think it was this month, the announcement by Deutsche Börse about the plans and the changes. You have to understand that Germany can do this because they changed the law. You know, the law is the most important factor here, because my board argued the law protects the CSD until it doesn't. So in Germany, they decided to change the law to promote decentralized finance and tokenization. And therefore, Deutsche Börse and Clearstream has no other option but now to transform and embrace it. And that's what they're going to do. And then this is also a fascinating slide because it gives you ideas of what can be tokenized. Tokenization is now an implosion of everything. Everything will be tokenized, everything, and new products. And that's why I truly believe that this is a massive opportunity for CSDs. They shouldn't see this as a threat. They should see it as an opportunity to move with the times. And then I love this quote. I'm sure many of you have read the book by Professor Clayton Christensen from Harvard, when he talks about the innovator's dilemma. What is the dilemma? The dilemma is that it's very hard to disrupt yourself, very hard. And what made you successful in the past doesn't make you successful in the future. And that's why Henry Ford said, if someone had asked, if I had asked people what they wanted, people would have said, give me a faster horse. They could have never dreamed of a car. And look what the car has done to society. And the same is happening today in finance and decentralized finance. And that's why it's essential that you start reading, that you start training your people, that you start experimenting, because the only way to learn about this technology is about doing. Download MetaMask, MetaMask is a free wallet that you go in and you can go and experiment what's happening in DeFi, get a loan, not big money, just experiment, buy some crypto, sell some crypto, transfer. That experience of this new world order will then give you the opportunity to know how you need to transform your business. And that's it. I hope that I did it in 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Monica. That was brilliant, brilliant speech. And I do believe that all our audience gets to really more information about how DLT and blockchain technologies affect the CSD business. And let me ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind. So you're talking about the advantages of blockchain technologies and new technologies over the traditional ones, right? But are there any disadvantages associated with it, what we need to know?
Of course, for me, the biggest, there's many. One, I have to be honest, this technology is not for baby boomers. You know, like I'm a baby boomer, I confess. When I look at the, when you look at the wallet, I go, oh my God, I'm about to make a mistake. I'm going to lose my money. Remember, you become your own bank, you become your own custodian, and because it's a non-custodian wallet, you are the beginning and the end. And therefore, I don't want to touch it. I'm being honest, I want someone to look after me. So that's why one of the products that Consensus has is called MetaMask Institution. We give the wallet to the institution, like a CSD, and you will then act on behalf of your clients. We boomers do not want to see this user experience that you become responsible, number one. Number two, some of these protocols, remember, you don't know who these people are. And therefore, it's called a rug pull. You put your money and then all of a sudden they disappear. So you need to have audits of the smart contract. The audits have to be published. You need to follow certain principles, meaning everything we've learned so far on regulation and risk management mustn't be thrown away. But what happens is a lot of the controls are embedded in the technology. That's why we say we replace intermediaries with code. So as long as you know that the code has been audited, it's secure, it's meant to do what it's meant to do, it won't be hacked. And there's many ways to protect you from being hacked. I'll give you an example. There's in DeFi, there's companies that you buy insurance. And the insurance you buy is in the event that you put money in a protocol, let's say collateral, and the protocol gets hacked, you get paid out if you bought the insurance. So there's many ways to skin a cat, but there are risks. And I'm saying don't get into this industry unless you have done the research and you understand what you're doing, because it's quite scary for me, and I'm in this industry for the last 4 years. I'm still getting scared, imagine,
Yeah, thank you for very helpful information. And one more question from the audience. What is the speed of the transactions processing in blockchain?
Okay, so I'll give you an example on Ethereum. Ethereum at the moment, the speed is not great, but we move into what is called from proof of work, which is a cryptography solution, mathematical formula, to proof of stake. It is expected that with proof of stake, we will achieve 100,000 transactions per second. So the speed will be higher than Visa, higher than anything you've seen so far. So that's why the merge is called the merge. It's happening next year, and that's going to be a game changer, and that's what the market is waiting for.
Yes, thank you so much. And one more question. So this is like a general question, let's say. So you mentioned that the new technologies is more not the threat, but the opportunity, right? But how can CSD best adopt to change? And do CSD have the ability to lead a process that they cannot defeat?
I'm being honest, okay? And I was totally against this. So what I'm going to say is a total change of mind, okay? I wanted always for Strike to be independent from the stock exchange. I have to be honest. I love being independent. I didn't want to be part of the stock exchange, which allowed us to settle other things, not just what was traded on the stock exchange. But I truly believe that the legacy financial markets need to come together, the stock exchanges and the CSDs, all the actors, the custodian banks that come together. This is the chance that you can beat them, but you need to work together. And you then have to simplify all the steps. Instead of having 100 million steps, you have remember, it's one ledger, number one. Number two, you have to amend the law. The law that thinks that protects you today, you should promote it, not to protect you anymore. Let the law enable you to go into this new tokenization world and work faster than the DeFi protocols. Why? Because what you have as a key brand is that people trust you. I'd rather put my money with a CSD, my tokens with a CSD, than a protocol that I know who they are. So you need to use your goodwill, your brand, but then you need to look at your industry and say, okay, it worked for legacy. Let me in parallel run something that will compete head on with DeFi, because I have the trust that nobody else has. But for that, you need to work together.
Yeah. Thank you, Monica. And one more question. I see the raising hand from CSDC and ACG Secretariat. So please go ahead, colleagues. You can unmute yourself and ask question to Monica.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Jasmine from ACG Secretariat. Thank you, Ms. Monica Singer. Thank you for your very informative and impressive presentation. In your presentation, you mentioned that DLT can also realize DVP. Yes, I agree. But you know that CCP has a very important function that cannot be replaced by others. That is the guaranteed and netted settlement. So I want to ask you, how can DLT realize this function? How can DLT replace CCP in this regard?
Okay, I'm sorry to say, but you don't need a CCP first if you've got immediate settlement, number one. Number two, the way that the technology is being built, it will allow either trade by trade, the speed will increase by trade, so your netting won't be needed. But I already seen solutions where they incorporate the netting, and therefore you can achieve netting and real-time settlement without having a CCP. Why would you need to novate your risk when this is going to happen real time? And remember, I saw the concept about peer-to-peer. So yes, if you want to have the CCP as part of the ecosystem, what we are doing when we build this for traditional users is we allow everybody to be part of the ecosystem. And then we say to the client, as you start using this technology, you will decide and you will realize that you don't need everybody in this ecosystem. This technology really reduces cost and intermediaries and all these infrastructures that we put in place because we didn't know any better. We thought that CCPs were essential, novation, netting. Well, this technology is saying that's not true. No one in a DeFi protocol has got a CCP, and collateral operates very well. Thank you very much. So it's a massive change of paradigm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, colleagues from SG, to asking question. And thank you, Monica. That was brilliant presentation. And so we got a lot of insight from you and we learned a lot. And so we hope to see you on our next event. And that will be our pleasure. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now I'll switch into Russian. Теперь мы перейдем к форматам в традиционном бизнесе центральных депозитариев.
Now proceed to the more traditional central depository channels. We'll hear about SWIFT strategy for the securities market, what's in store for us, and Matthew the Herring will tell us what to expect. Hello, colleagues. Can you hear me well? First of all, thank you for this opportunity to speak. We're about to share your presentation on the screen. I will do the voice operation and colleagues will push the buttons. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to participate, and let me express the hope that next year, finally, we will be able to do this personally. I really miss face-to-face communication with colleagues from the NSD and the association members. Of course, I will share our strategy updates today and further on, but I really miss interpersonal communication. Now, let me proceed to the next slide. This is my planned agenda, and I would like to share with you how SWIFT will support central depositories and the whole security cycle, just as Monica mentioned, in the period when tokenized securities will coexist with traditional ones. Because our understanding is that for reasons that Monica impressively described to us, in terms of transition to tokenization, this is what will happen, definitely, but it will not happen everywhere at the same time or in every region at the same time. not for all securities at the same time. And of course, in our vision and in the vision of our customers, there is a requirement that the community of SWIFT users and security market should not be forced to live in a paradigm with two windows, one for traditional securities and the other with multiple platforms with a spaghetti model that will not satisfy anyone. So now I will quickly go through the slides for the context, and our customers represent all over the securities markets all over the world, what they tell us about their strategies. Now, then I will tell you about our short-term and longer-term strategy in terms of tokenization of assets. I will quickly switch between slides. I see the system works very well, and I will be happy to address any questions afterwards. I will switch quickly. Frankly speaking, the first 2 points, the one about low margins and the fact that a large portion of costs of specific individual users is already at a minimum, and there's not much margin for cost reduction. It has been this way 5 years ago already, but what we see now, as we recover hopefully from the COVID market, and based on how markets perform, senior management of central depositories and other market participants now make a strategic focus on innovative projects or innovative classes of securities or innovative business lines. It's not only at the laboratory basis, it's already a preparation for the future, as Monica indicated. This has direct relation to the new types of securities, including tokenized ones, be it real assets or securities or monetary assets. At the day-to-day practical level, we see even today that we as central depositories and custodians and asset managers face the continuous life cycle of trade with settlement, and the factor is 260 according to McKinsey. That is up to 260%, 60 times cheaper if you avoid the intermediaries, or you have to go back and see why transaction did not happen. We're not going into details here, but the reasons are avoidable for the most part. The fact that the parties are not defined in the same way on the seller side and on the buyer side of securities, even if we say lack of securities, which means that central depository may not have securities available at the right time. It's not because they're not available, but because there are operational issues which can be addressed. And what we see here and what our users tell us is that, be it with the new technology or the current technology, all these issues would preferably be addressed together, because in Europe, but not only in Europe, as other places as well, the rules and regulations that address the efficiency of the settlement chain are becoming increasingly strict. The settlement discipline, the fines and penalties and buy-ins which are associated. This is something that we did not have even 3 years ago. In February, Europe will be introducing that. What is also new is that settlement processes are becoming shorter. The case highlighted in yellow here is DTCC, and together with the members through associations, they are switching to T+1. Canada joined that a month later. What is also interesting is the targets. The DTCC set itself at this target to reach this goal in less than 2 years. We talked to our colleagues in Europe, America, and Asia, and all of them said it would be a big project, but every step, T+2 to T+1, T+1 to 2 plus to T0, every step will be difficult to make. Cutting time by 1 day is very difficult. So the question is not whether this will happen, but when it will happen. And possibly we need to achieve some synchronization. This is also what our customers say. Here we publish our annual data from last year. This year it's more or less close to that. At our department for securities at SWIFT, we love to remind everyone that securities account for more than 2/3 of our traffic. SWIFT was born more than 40 years ago for transboundary portion of interbank payments, but national settlement systems in Europe and in the UK use it. So corporations use it. It's a convenient tool because SWIFT is not after profit, but operates for the benefit of its users. And that also includes securities market. It is used quite a lot on the securities market. Again, it's well, close to 2/3 of the traffic. We also take account of the 3%, 30% of interest payments and other transactions like this. So top drive traffic growth was 77% last year. This year we expect about 11%, which is not as impressive because settlement traffic also grew this year. And again, we have more than 6,000 users and 93 central depositories among the infrastructure members. All of them are linked to SWIFT. This is as far as content is concerned. Now to our strategy. This is something that many of you may have seen already. This is our overall strategy as SWIFT. We're doing our best to avoid siloed strategy like settlements as against security strategy. We want to have a comprehensive one. Of course, we are secured and reliable and seamless. This is what secured our success over the years. Also, we are known as a platform that supports securities as well as Forex, as well as trade finance, and of course, file exchange and big data. All these characteristics to be concentrated with one provider. It's only us, nobody else that can do it. When people say that we support payments which are processed seamlessly between the participants, and the smarter securities flow would also work as well. I will tell you more about smarter securities and smarter payments. And of course, we are using on the basis of ISO 222 all the all these flexible capabilities that are available. We are switching from message level to transaction level, and we open our platform to other platforms. So if you want, it will be platform to platform world. It's the high level strategy. On the next slide, this is our security strategy. Our key focus as a company for the next 2 years is to help our users. This is what you requested from us, to help with this headache of increased cost and settlements which are not done on a timely basis. So we use IPs and compliance. And today I would like to tell you what we do for tracking, for transparency of securities transactions as they go through SWIFT. We work with our users on settlement fails, and this is done in two directions. First, as has been tradition, we help our users to reduce the proportion of security trade settlements which are not done on a timely basis. And second, in cases when this is inevitable, we're trying to provide neutral information available to everyone as soon as possible in order to accelerate the solution through exceptions management. This is specifically how we are going to do that, because costs associated with that measure in billions of dollars only in Europe. A large portion of settlement fails are avoidable, and this is what we can do by adding transparency. I will tell you more about the UTI, unique transactions identifier. Everyone has solutions, but these are always local or pinpointed, so there's a need to harmonize all that. We would like to show information on both sides of the transaction at the same time to everyone, of course, within the framework of contractual arrangement between the parties. I can go ahead, but maybe there were questions. I think I heard something. No, we do not have questions yet. You can continue. So I used to work in the standards department, so I love to talk about standards. ISO. Many of you know that we have a GPI solution for settlements, which enables connection between messages. We create UTER transactions. You know that if you have introduced GPIs, transboundary payments are delivered in minutes or maximum hours.
Простите, у меня была проблема какая-то техническая. Значит, UEPR – это референс, который SWIFT внедрил.
UEPR is a reference that SWIFT introduced to payment messages to link participants. This is moved from message level to transaction level. So the question is whether SWIFT should include a new field as fifth category message. And the group of customers who developed this solution together with us, including AECSD of Russia, they decided no for two reasons. The first, security transactions go through SWIFT from the moment of post-trade. For the reference to operate for both sides of the transaction should emerge from the matching moment, and which happens before the SWIFT comes into the picture. And the AECSD announced that they will use GTI for transaction purposes that will then go through the whole chain of global custodian to the central depository. And second reason is that this reference already existed before, and this information is already present. It has the standard 23897-2020, and next year we will work to make sure that whether it is market infrastructure or big aggregators with big volumes of messages, such as global custodians, would receive, clearly understand, and transport messages not only in one direction, matching the direction of payment, but also in the other direction. I will be happy to tell you more details if needed. So the GPI will be introduced, and we will be working more with the market players and participants in this direction. We are building this tracker foundation for SWIFT, and then we'll connect to that a number of services. The most obvious thing is that we provide information on the basis of the tracker to all the members in the chain through notification service, through GUI, IPI, and then we can calculate statistics, which we share as much as allowed by our strict set of rules on data confidentiality, data security, and then we can compare user messages, because GTI will not be present at the same time everywhere, so we do not want heuristic messages. We need a clear set of tools which we are developing now, and there will be also a set of additional services that can be switched on, and there will be a reference connecting messages as transaction, be it CSI improvement, SSI improvement, calculation of penalties based on the discipline rules, etc., etc. This is the idea. This is what we will be working on over the next couple of years. We have a team of product guys who will be developing this together with us. These are the organizations that participate: securities, custodians, global custodian, brokers, asset management, geographically distributed. They're not necessarily big. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. Now to the next slide. This is what we do.
If you look at the next slide, you will see what we are doing. There are new classes of securities and new assets that are emerging, and we do count on this growth path. And for comparison purposes, the magnitude of tokenized assets and conventional securities, we believe that within the next 5 to 7 years, the magnitude will be the same. Well, it will not be 1% to 99%. It may be 50-50, for instance, looking for 7 years forward. This is our vision. We were discussing it with different organizations, individually and collectively as part of events like our event today. And we as SWIFT need to support the existence of these two classes of securities. If we go to the next slide, in large brush strokes, there are 4 categories of things that we're doing. Firstly, which is quite traditional for IP for messaging, we need to update our business model and the messages so that we can identify the specific features of such securities. An asset manager who says you will have to buy a node and you will have to address all issues. And I'd like to give you instructions. This is one of the securities that where you act as a custodian. I will send you an NMT message, but you will have to tell me what the place of settlement is going to be. I do not want to actually leave an empty field. This is just an example of standardization. I'm just giving you an example of such messages. And actually, as part of our annual standardization, this received positive feedback, GTI, and as a reference, we are working to address it. And the second thing that we often are requested to do is the people are saying the world that Monica showed, where the with the payment side, this is at the retail level. But as far as the institutional level is concerned, for the time being, there is this idea that the payments will be done via CBC or traditional payment tools, either through national payment systems or cross-border, or for example in Europe or in the UK. And how can we bring these pieces together when a tokenized security deal, when there is information that the payment is made after a tokenized deal, and the payment is made in a foreign exchange, and we are using GPI as a tool, as a SWIFT-based tool that validates and confirms that the beneficiary's bank has money on the account, and we are working to address it, and we hope that next year we'll be able to provide it. Of course, the new type of securities means that there is a new type of SWIFT users, and gradually, as part of KYC, we are linking them to use the same SWIFT functions and standards, and we are working at the individual client level. But the most important thing conceptually is to understand the big picture, to explore it also in terms of securities. And we are experimenting, and we believe that by the end of the year, we'll be able to tell you what we're going to do and with whom. Currently, we are in the process of finalizing that, to have a conceptual vision of the SWIFT platform, of its security solutions, and trouble-free formats and the identity framework could be used for tokenized assets, functions, and for the entire securities life cycle, insurance, redemption, etc. All that could be live on the basis of SWIFT. But SWIFT does not want to be a custodian. Our rules are not going to change. We are not going to be an economic party to that transaction. This is what we are experimenting with, and this is what we are going to report back to you when we start the experiments. And at the end of the experiments, we'll also give updates. I think there will be several iterations. I guess there should be one more slide, the final slide. As I've said, we are working with, we have worked with Accenture, and this has been successful in terms of technologies, in terms of our learnings from experiments. From the perspective of central bank, digital currencies is one of payment options. And among other things, we need to understand it from the perspective of smart contracts and understand the specific features associated with them with respect to securities. And we are working with many organizations, and I hope that we'll be able to announce the commencement of this effort by the end of the year, and by mid next year, we'll be able to share our initial results, and there will be further experiments, and there will be there will be access to our lab provided. Hopefully, I have not monopolized the discussion and have not exceeded the time limit allocated a little bit, but thank you very much. This was very insightful and informative. I'm sure that our audience and SWIFT users find it critical to understand your forward-looking plans to actually adapt their plans as well with respect to formats and the channels that they use. We have not received any questions from the audience. I'd like to remind you, colleagues, that you can use our chat box to ask, and you can also unmute yourselves to ask a question.
Given the majority of the audience is Russian speaking, and I don't have a chance like when I used to live in Moscow, so I was pretentious enough to try and do the presentation in Russian today, but have you take the questions in English, or if something wasn't clear, I did go through there at 500 kilometers an hour.
Спасибо. Подскажите, а известно ли...
Thank you. Do you know any cases of full switch over to format 20 among any users? Are there any markets like that? Yes, of course. And I should say that there is an obvious example, which is PTS. They made a decision, I think it was about 9 or 10 years ago, when they had the choice whether they would work using 20.022 N15 or only 20.022. The Bank of Italy, the Bank of Spain, Banque de France thought about it, consulted us, and decided to use ISO 20.022. And speaking about national central depositories and national markets, I think there are other users who have done it as well. And based on the information that I have, but I do not want to mislead you. As far as corporate actions are concerned, 20.022 standard is used exclusively because it gives more flexibility given the specific features of the investor disclosure. Right. In various segments, there are corporate actions and other services in different segments. Thank you very much, Matthew. This was very exciting, and we're looking forward to having you with us next time. And thank you. This is it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I do hope that it will be a face-to-face meeting. We do hope for that as well. Will it be in Yerevan? Yes. We hope so, and we believe that it will be. I have very warm recollections of our previous meetings. Goodbye. All the best. Colleagues, the next topic that we're going to discuss today will be asset digitalization. We'll keep talking about digitalization and the impact on central depositories, on what central depositories are doing in terms of asset digitalization. And please allow me to invite the head of Innovating Financial Services of Korea to speak up, Mr. Shin.
Good day, everyone.
Good day. So the floor is yours.
Pardon? Yeah, let me start. My name is Cho Shin, and I'm in charge of the Innovative Finance Service team of KSD. And we are going to have a short session with the topic of digitalization of assets and its impact on CSD business. Before we start, please understand that I limited the scope of this digitalization of assets only to the crypto assets on DLT. Crypto asset itself is not nothing more than the encrypted data, but with the DLT, it becomes our headache. Anyway, in recent years, KSD has completed several POC projects regarding the DLT and the crypto assets. And it's a great pleasure for me to have a chance to share our experience with our CSD friends. Page. Okay, when I received the discussion topic, digitalization of assets and its impact, two things came up to my mind. One is about the data flow, and the other one is about the network. The first one is about the threat we are facing with, and the second one is about the choice we might have in the future. So for the data flow, I think I must explain the case of Korea. KSD has been adding the efficiency to the market by providing the centralized network services among the financial institutions, as you can see in the left picture. And that was possible by the fact that KSD has the legal ledger, and also by the fact that we are the trusted third party that covers the security settlement. So the financial data flow in and flow out through KSD. And we have been adding values to those financial transactions. It's been so simple, you know. The data flow means cash flow. However, with the DLT, there is no more straightforward transmission of data. Rather, there is a wave of data flow. Data sharing in DLT is based on broadcasting. So the sender and the receiver don't need to be clearly defined. This means that we, CSDs, are no longer a center of data transmission in our financial market. Furthermore, in DLT, multiple ledgers are updated synchronously and have the same legal position. So this change of the data flow is a threat. Now we are all facing with. Okay. The second one is about the DLT network. During the G20 summit in 2018, our leaders agreed to regulate the crypto assets, and its purpose was to prevent the money laundering and the financing of terrorism. I believe this is something like a ground rule for CSDs and other financial institutions also. It means that anonymous count and suspicious transactions shouldn't be a part of our financial systems. This article 25 was announced because most crypto assets are designed to run on public ledger system, especially those called coins can be traded anonymously, and any node can initiate the transaction only if the calculation is correct. So we can say that for now, the private or the permissioned ledger system is the only choice we can have if we are to design a DLT-based financial infrastructure. Okay, this is a conceptual design of KSD's latest POC project on DLT. This aims for a kind of hybrid platform that can support both the legacy and the token market. So the main purpose of this project was to support the whole life cycle of crowdfunding from its issuance to the corporate actions, including the matching and settlement in token forms. We implemented the smart contract-based matching and settlement services on distributed ledger and tested its performance up to 10 million transactions per 8 hours. It was designed to run 24 hours a day. Like this way, now it seems kind of technically possible for us to provide the DLT-based financial services to our financial market. However, in Korea, we don't have a regulation on a security token. So providing the conceptual model and showing its capability to the market is the best thing we can do at the moment. Okay, and this DLT has many advantages and also the disadvantages. So these are the DLT related issues I can think of. So even though we are trying to prepare for the future with a token-based settlement platform, there are some general issues regarding the DLT business model, even with the permissioned ledger. The first one is about the cost. DLT is quite expensive than our legacy systems, and the linked file system is not the best choice we can consider. And encryption needs decryption, and public infrastructure is way too heavy for most of our business applications. And the second one is about the safety. We believe our data are encrypted safely with our private keys, but the problem is that anyone can participate as a node and download the whole data, and then maybe he or she can analyze and misuse it. So even though the encryption is good enough, we need to rethink about the sharing of our data in public ledger system. and it's about the network. Maintaining the lines among the nodes is an expensive job, and the DLT requires the full network connection in theory. Next issue is about the duplication. They say it's about distribution, but I think it's about duplication. Many business cases are tested and advertised with DLT. However, I don't really get the meaning of this duplication of data. It's not really distributed at all. It's being duplicated. 끝인가? Yeah. As a CSD, I believe the roles we have in each market must be quite different. However, regarding the DLT and crypto asset, I hope we can share the business use cases and face the change together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shin. That was a great presentation, and thank you for sharing the experience of KSD in digitalization. I have a question from the audience. Does KSD have an estimate of, can you hear me?
Could you speak again, please? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Okay,
I can hear you. Yeah.
So the question from the audience, if you don't mind, does KSD have an estimate of percentage costs of the transaction given the issues identified in the DLT issue slide?
비용. We don't have a correct estimation about conversion from our legacy system to the DLT system. Maybe next year we are planning to introduce the market with the kind of recording only system. It sounds funny, but actually we are planning to provide the matching and settlement system with the DLT in the future. But for the beginning, maybe doing the market. If CSD is planning to provide the market, then our participants might not be pleased with the so for the first step, we are planning to just provide the ledger system, which is distributed, I guess. Yeah. But the cost estimation is not done yet. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the very interesting information and sharing with us your experience. And so we hope to see you on our next event. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Какие есть еще примеры цифровизации услуг центральных
What
депозитариев?
are other examples of central depositories service digitalization? We'll listen to Livon Akrivchan of Armenia. Livon, are you with us? Are you online? Yes, good afternoon. Let me show my presentation, share my presentation first. Do you see the presentation? You can get started. All is fine. Okay, good afternoon.
Guests of the 17th Conference of Association of Eurasian Central Securities Depositories. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all virtually in Yerevan. During this restriction period, this is a great opportunity to see you all and discuss topics we are all interested in. I sincerely hope that you will enjoy these 2 days of conference, and thank you so very much for the participation. Today, I will speak about digitalization. This topic surely is in the top agenda of our financial institutions. And the process, which has been started over a decade ago, has extremely escalated, started from the last year. Big example of this escalation is the platform we are using during this conference. It's Zoom, the company that created in 2011, but became highly popular last year. Well, speaking about digitalization, first let's understand what is digitalization. Here is the vocabulary meaning of this terminology, and in 2 words, digitalization is the conversion of written and oral communication to electronic messaging that everyone understands. So many of specialists say the population, it's hard to, population hardly differ digitize and digitalize terminology. When digitize is just scanning a physical document, digitalization is about transformation of business models in contrast with scanning a physical document. It's more complex and comprehensive procedure that every institution should pass for digitalizing its services. And this digitalization has its prerequisites. First, it's worldwide trend. Today, many of investors do not want to invest going out, standing in a queue and waiting for the specialist to bring services of investment to them. They want to make investments sitting in their couch. And the worldwide trend for your correspondence is that when you have correspondent account from other financial institution, that financial institution wants to see its instruction to be made immediately, to bring the status, to get the status update immediately. And you should do digitalization for bringing this service to them. And you can do it via SWIFT, as bring all the changes that SWIFT, as Matthew told, to your services. Second is that it's an elephant in the room, it's COVID-19. And you cannot make business without digitalization in this pandemic world. Lockdowns, travel restrictions, transportation problems push our society to digitalize our services. And even if you want to organize a conference and see your friends, colleagues here in Yerevan, you should digitalize the conference and do it online. Automatization level increase will bring lower operational risk to the financial market. In its case, high level of automatization brings good data quality, ease of collection this data, lower costs, and better control of business operations with higher process efficiency. And in one word, digitalization is a must today. For this reason, many of central depositories are going to this way to digitalize their services. And the central depository family is not an exception. We continually automatize our services, bringing new solutions to this business, and covering high level of compliance principles in the same time. So also we are creating online platforms for our clients. And today I will talk about our online platform called CD Online in 2 parts. First part, during this presentation, I will share our experience of creating this online application, what problems we had and how we solved it. And later in small talks rooms, I will go through the features of CD Online. Well, first is the platforms where we should we had to create this application. We made we create a small questionnaire where the investor wants to see this application, and half of our investors said that they want to see it in web platform. That platform is more effective to use, and we created it. We created in web platform, also in iOS and Android platforms, so you can download CD Online even now from your App Store or Google Play. Second problem we faced is support. As Central Depository for Armenia is not giving services to the client directly, but is doing via account operators, we shared this support. Technical support is on Central Depository for Armenia, and advisory support is on account operators, which are banks and investment companies in Armenia. So if the person has a problem with the procedures of making transfers, there is no need to write to technical support. You can write to your account operator. Big soft of this application is Depend, created by Persva Software, our partners. And as I know, Persva Software also is the sponsor of this conference now. We are using Depend as a main software for depository services here in Central Depository for Armenia. And the application is created having Depend in back. All the data is automatically synchronized. So this is a way of fasting the procedures in CD Online. So you can do it immediately. Any action you make, it's immediately being registered in our main software. Security protocols, of course, this is a main argument of the people who see the problem in digitalization. It's security. We brought good security protocols, both in Depend it already has. There's already good security protocols. We brought security protocol to CD Online. We made several tests, and now it's safe to use. There's no problem with this application. We brought electronic voting to CD Online, and the problem we faced here is about simplifying electronic voting, because the same investor and investors mainly are people who do not want to do more than 1-2 clicks. We brought that procedure here in CD Online, and investor can see the information in application, make 2-3 touches and vote. New versions should be provided each year, at least each year, because the platforms we are using, for example, iOS and Android, they are updating their versions at least each year. And you should each year see what is being changed, and to change, if it is connected to your application, you should every time change the application. And this means that you should have good support team, not only creating team, but also support team. It should be customizable. The problem we saw using our previous softwares, not online software, but also all softwares, that previously the developers were creating the softwares, were making all the important data in writing the important data in the code. So if you want to change anything, you should change the code. But when you are creating online platform in this area, you should give good tools for the administrator or for the user to change it without changing the code. And this is a big problem now for most of the online platforms, that everything is in code, which is a problem. And user-friendly interface, again, going to the investor's demand. Investor does not want to see more complicated windows. They want to see it simplified, user friendly, and to do it in one click. Well, the problem of registration, at this point, Central Depository Armenia's client can register in CDM Online only if the client has, if the person is already a client. I mean, if the person has already have a account, security account in Central Depository of Armenia. And it can be both physical entity or legal entity. They should already have this account. We brought a two-factor verification procedures here. It can be made, the application gives opportunity to make it in email or in SMS, and it's up to us. We choose email verification. So each person who wants to register in CD Online should prove that it's the right person, should bring data to the CD Online and to verify by email. Problem with the payments, as I mentioned before, between Central Depository of Armenia and investor, there are account operators in Armenia and in other, I know in other markets also there are intermediaries between Central Depository and the client. And many of intermediaries do not have enough digitalization level. So if the person wants to pay for the services, the person should go to the branch to wait to pay physically and etc. We brought just virtual POS here, and all the actions that the person is doing in CD Online can be paid immediately by credit card. So there's no problem here. Next stage is the support, as I talk. This is a chart. We created a chart in application, and investor can choose whom to write and what information wants to receive from the addressee. Central Depository of Armenia also is providing registry keeping and custody services to Armenian mandatory pension funds. And if the investor has units of Armenian mandatory pension funds, that investor can easily see the balance and the last 10 transactions in CD Online, which is also a big feature of this application. Regarding to electronic voting, this is the first time in Armenia that electronic voting is created. And first, we create user for secretary, and it's another case how it should be created and who should create the meeting in application. So we did it in this way. We are creating secretary user. After that, all actions are being made by the secretary. So there is no action that CDA, Central Depository of Armenia, or account operator is doing further in this business process. Secretary, in this case, should create a meeting with the questions, attach files. We have here a lot of features. For example, you can mention if the investor, if a shareholder can change its vote during the vote period or not, whether it's open voting or closed voting. I mean, if in the final stage, whether the secretary should see which investor physically voted for or against or not, etc. All these features we will talk in small talks rooms when we have more time to talk. And that's all. After creating the meeting, the voting, immediately the shareholders of these securities, which are shareholder at the record date time, will immediately receive notification about the new voting, new meeting, and immediately can see all the information that secretary wrote in this meeting. So here we solved the problem of the non-electronic voting, when the secretary should send physically the documents to the client, and if the secretary is in Yerevan but the client is in Miami, it will go to Miami a week. And this procedure is bringing a millisecond notification to the Miami-based investor. Also, the problem of speaking to each other. We've created a forum where the shareholders can speak to each other regarding to the topic. It's free format chat, so they can speak whatever they want. And the secretary also is in this chat, and the secretary can bring information about current information about the meeting or to answer to the shareholders' questions. And the actual voting is in, as I said, in 2-3 clicks. First, the shareholder sees the meeting. Second, sees the question of the meeting, and third, it's voting. Of course, this vote also has verification mandatory protocol. Then the shareholder should verify itself each time it's voting. After that, the reporting part, both shareholder and sector will receive reporting. This is another big question, how we should do it and who should receive the reporting. We waited for both. So the secretary will receive noting, the shareholder will receive noting, and the secretary will attach a final report with the signature of the all authorized management to this CD Online, and all the shareholders will see it. What we are going to develop in this CD Online regarding to these services. First, as I mentioned before, this application gives opportunity to the investor to activate the securities account, which has already opened. We are going to bring new protocols of online account openings step by step. And we are working on this stage in legal part, in compliance part, AML part, and we are going to bring this opportunity to the clients. New opportunities for issuers. This is another big stage. We want to create the opportunity for issuer to insert information about corporate actions. For example, if I don't know, any corporate, for example, for the consolidation or the split, the information, the documentation, once the issuer attaches to the CD Online, all the shareholders will see it, and the information will spread immediately. API protocols, we will give opportunities to our clients and our colleagues, partners. If they want to connect their internal program to CD Online, we'll give them API protocols, and everything will be automatized. Also, we have good market here. We have good market participants, which are giving good feedbacks and valuable feedbacks to us. And they give advices, suggestions, what to change, what to develop. Also, they provide information from investors, what they like, what they don't like, and we are going to fix and develop all these features. That's all. More detailed about CD Online, we can speak in small talks rooms.
Yeah, just in 20 minutes. Ливон, спасибо большое за очень информативную презентацию, очень крутое приложение.
Thank you very much for very informative presentation. You have a very cool application. How about the regulator? Is it allowed to conduct meetings in this format? Have you ever faced any challenges when you launched it? I answer in Russian since the question is in Russian. Actually, after March 2020, after the start of the pandemic, our laws allow us to hold online shareholders meetings online. Actually, speaking about problems, I can tell you right away that there were multiple, there were lots and lots of problems. We had to change things every week. But the thing is, there are very few central depositories who have online apps. And that's the biggest problem. We created an app that and we actually started several depositories who have online apps. And we created a unique product, and we do hope that we'll be able to build a large marketplace on the basis of this product that will be integrated. If our colleagues from other central depositories would like us to share our experience, and we'll be happy to. Thank you very much. This was very exciting. And we will surely see you at our next meetings. So thank you very much for your contribution to our conference. Thank you. Colleagues, this is where our presentation session is coming to an end. I'd like to thank all our speakers for very interesting information and for their insights. I hope that the information you've heard has been useful. And now there will be just a minute for a group photo. We are going beyond the time limit allocated. If you have an opportunity, please make sure that you have your cameras on, and we'll try to make a group photo, all of us. Thank you very much for being active. I see that everyone is turning the cameras on. Say cheese. Once again, one more time. Thank you very much. I'm sure it's been great to the extent possible using online technologies. You will see it in our press releases and our marketing materials after the event. So our core business program is at an end today, and we do hope that it has been useful and interesting. But this is not it. We kindly invite you to join our virtual cultural program offered by our host, the Central Depository of Armenia, and take part in small talk rooms to get acquainted with the colleagues and their services and plans.
那他这个会议下午结束的，开的要在3:30才开始，所以大家结束的比较晚。
Could you please mute your microphone? Right. We are online, such things are possible. Please allow me to hand over to the Marketing and Communications Department, a leader at the Armenian Central Depository. Lily, over to you. Thank you, Roman. Dear participants, good afternoon. I'm happy to virtually greet you from the sunny country of Armenia, a small mountainous country. It is hard to learn about Armenia within such a short time span, but I'm sure that thanks to virtual technology, you will be able to learn about it with the help of people who live and create value here. we have brief videos about our history, art and culture, our traditions, and lots of other exciting things. After each short video, you will have a poll on the screen, and with the help of that poll, we'll decide how we are going to visit the heroes of our virtual tour. So let's get started. This is the first poll. Which destination would you like to discover next? We'll wait for a few seconds for all the participants to vote. I can see that everyone is taking an active part in the voting, which is a pleasure. Just a few more seconds, and we'll close the first voting round. So I see the results of the first poll. So history tour will be #1. I wish you an exciting experience. Let's go ahead.
The capital of Armenia, Yerevan. Now, we will discover the highlights of the history of Armenia with the help of ancient manuscripts. The Matenadaran manuscripts collection comes from the early 5th century, when Saint Mesrop Mashtots invented the Armenian alphabet. A lot of writing centers were established all over the ancient Armenia. Since those days, many works from different languages were translated into Armenian. The respectful attitude towards the knowledge and particularly to a book made possible to gather and preserve them through the centuries. About 30,000 Armenian manuscripts reached our days. 15,000 of them have been preserved in biggest depository of Armenian manuscripts, Matenadaran. Here is the map of historic Armenia from the 1st century BC. The Armenian plateau, where Armenians originally lived from the 1st millennia BC until 1915. Another map is created by Greek geographer Ptolemaios, who was traveling with the Romanian army during the Roman-Persian wars and mapping the Minor Asia countries in the 2nd century. Great Armenian historiographers Agatan Geros, Movses Khorenatsi, Yerishe documented the history of Armenia and the neighbors through the centuries. The manuscripts witness the adoption of Christianity in the early 4th century in 301. Thus, Armenia became the first country in the world to adopt officially Christianity as a state religion. Besides the works of Armenian writers, the museum preserves also the translations of significant ancient and medieval authors. Some original works are lost, and only Armenian versions reached our days. For example, the Chronicle of Eusebius. The oldest dated parchment gospel is from 887. The oldest paper manuscripts preserved at Matenadaran is a collection on cosmography and philosophy dated back to 981. There are also old printed books. Among them is the first Armenian printed book, Urpatagirk, printed by Jacob the Sinner in 1512 in Venice. The history of Alexander the Great also reached our days only in Armenian and with beautiful illustrations. The Matenadaran, along with the Armenian manuscript collection, preserves more than 3,000 manuscripts in different languages, such as Arabic, Ottoman Turkish, Persian, Greek, Syriac, Latin, Ethiopian, Japanese, and many other languages. I hope you liked our short visit of the Matenadaran and hope that you will come to Armenia for an amazing experience. See you later here.
Dear participants, we have the second poll, as you can see on your screen. Kindly vote. Well, you are equally active. I hope that you liked the video. I'm sure that the further we go, the more exciting it's going to be. We are about to complete the second poll. I can see the results. So we'll learn about arts and culture.
Armenia is regarded as one of the oldest nations on earth, and its unique culture a testimony to the resilience of the human spirit.
Искусство высечения хачкаров является одним из...
Master Vadastat, who will tell us about the Armenian Khachkar. I was born in 1960. My name is Vadastat Hambartsumyan. Culture can be found in everything, actually, but the Khachkar is more than that. It's something very pure. Khachkar is what has been gifted to us from above, as it doesn't speak about the person. It speaks about the impersonal, about the eternity. The Khachkar is the seal of God, sealed in the land of Armenia as the first Christian nation. There is liturgy in Khachkar. There is a doctor in Khachkar, a judge. After all, the Khachkar reminds of the road. It's a road to God. During the Soviet Union, there was a period of time when the Khachkars were turned into a headstone. People were convinced that it was so. Yet according to historians and archaeologists, it has never been a tombstone. It has been of very high value. As a holy relic, it has been placed in churches, at home, in gardens, on the road. It has been used as a border stone. The Khachkar is not only for us, it's for nations. It's a nationwide value. Here are the father, the mother, and the children, as they are reflected on the earth. We have the Holy Trinity in the sky, as that there is a family in the sky as well. I keep saying that when a family doesn't carry the reflection of the sky, that family can't live for long. Armenian art is a unique form of art developed over the last 5 millennia, during which the Armenian people inhabited the Armenian highland. Other forms of Armenian art include sculpture, fresco, mosaic, ceramic, metalwork, engraving, and textiles, especially Armenian carpets. Now we are in Yerevan Museum of Folk Arts, which is the heart of the Armenian national culture. Walking through different exhibition halls, we can make the journey of the same ornaments from stone, metal, and wood to wool, cotton, and silk. Note that all this was created by non-professionals. The ideas of the fight between the good and the evil, the 4 corners of the world, the 4 elements of nature, mythical creatures, sacred and secular, fertility, eternity, and immortality have been reflected in Armenian culture. It has expressed the wisdom and identity of the Armenian people for centuries. As you see, the work materials, masters, and combinations are different in Armenian culture, but the root and the idea are stemming from the same place, from love and devotion.
У нас третий опрос, и осталось всего 4 направления.
We have the third poll, and there are only 4 areas to explore.
Кажется, голосование.
It seems that the poll is closed, and I can announce the results now. We are going to visit our national cuisine, food traditions. I promise it's going to be delicious.
Armenian food is one of the most unique and traditional cuisines in the world. It has a wide range of dishes, rich in flavor, prepared using techniques dating back thousands of years. Today, we will plunge into an authentic Armenian ritual and together with Miss Navart, will make traditional Armenian thin bread, lavash.
Hello, բարև ձեզ։ Ես Նվարդն եմ։
For making lavash, we use simple ingredients, including flour, water, and salt. First of all, we make dough from wheat flour, water, and form them into balls. Then the balls are rolled into thin layers that are stretched over an oval cushion, then smacked against the hot walls of the clay tandoor oven. Generally, tandoor is located under the ground. It's only required to wait for a minute or sometimes even 30 seconds to peel an already baked list of lavash off the wall. Lavash is included in the UNESCO representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. It is one of the symbols of prosperity in Armenian culture. On any occasion, be it a family dinner, official reception, or a wedding party, you can see the delicious Armenian flatbread served on the table. Since ancient days, Armenia has been famous for its winemaking traditions, which are still kept in practice to this day. According to the Bible, Armenia is considered to be the cradle of viticulture and winemaking. The ancient winery found in Areni Cave dates back to 4000 BC, and it is the oldest one in the world found to this date. The old-fashioned way of winemaking is grape stomping. This traditional ritual is still kept alive in our country. Armenians are hospitable and love having guests at their homes, especially foreigners who are likely to be greeted with warmth and a table piled with as much food as it can hold. Moreover, you will be forced to try all the dishes. So, our Armenian lavash is ready. Welcome to Armenia to taste it.
Наш гастротур по Армении закончился.
Our food tour is over, but there are 3 other exciting topics. So the 4th one is so the 4th destination, since we closed the poll, is major attractions. Let's go ahead.
My name is Hiroki Tachiri. I'm a Japanese living in Armenia right now. I'm an entrepreneur, business person, and social development practitioner. So Armenia and Armenians have changed a lot since I came to Armenia for the first time in 2009. Now, look around Yerevan. More and more modern buildings have been built. Local Armenian people have become more fashionable, let's say international standard. Men no longer only wear black shirts, they are colorful. And of course, I feel much more comfortable when I walk on the street because they are much more used to seeing foreigners in this country. Although Yerevan is a tiny city, it has many sites for sightseeing. For example, the most famous Republic Square, Opera Theatre, Arab Brandy Factory. However, let me point out two most favorite sites of mine for sightseeing here. The first one is Yerevan Children's Railway and Razdan River nearby. And second of my favorite site I want to mention is Kond. Kond is one of the oldest quarters of Yerevan, which I believe is very valuable historic site where you can find the old history of Yerevan in the structures as well as constructions which have remained there for over 150 years. Now I'll talk about sites that you can enjoy in Armenia. So Armenia has a lot of sites that you really enjoy. I have visited various places in Armenia since I came to Armenia for the first time in my life. For example, Garni Gegard, Patev, Sevan, Polovirat, Norabank, Gyumri, Dilijan, Zivratnot, Karakhunj, Hankavan, Sakhkazov, Ijevan, Goris, and many other places. So it's very difficult to summarize my living experience in Armenia within 2 or 3 minutes. But I want to tell you 3 points. They are safeness, relaxing life, and intimate relationship. So let me explain the first 2 points. Armenia, especially Yerevan, is one of the safest cities in the world, where even women can walk alone at late night, and local Armenians are generally much more laid back compared to Japanese. So I feel very relaxed by living here, that I believe has improved my quality of my life. In addition, and most importantly, one of the major reasons why I moved to Armenia was intimate relationship of people. In other words, the closeness of human relationship in this country. So for the people like me, I think Armenia would be one of the best places to live in, actually. So thank you very much and enjoy your time in Armenia.
Thank you, Hiroki, for this exciting tour. We have our final poll because there are only 2 destinations, but we'll understand the order of sequence. Well, we'll watch the adventure tourism video, and then we'll talk about high tech.
Right now, we're having a walk in the underground, about 70 meters below the ground, to be exact. We are in the Magellan Cave, the second largest cave in Armenia, with a length of 1,700 meters, located in Vayotzor, Mars. Hi, I'm Ani, a member of Armenia's paleo team, and today I'll be guiding you on a short, but definitely miraculous journey in Armenia. At first glance, Armenia might not be visible on the world map. It is a small playfield, however, with tremendous opportunities to embark on a remarkable journey, to truly unravel yourself through discovering Armenia. With that, Armenia offers a variety of activities, tackling nearly all the elements of nature, the air and the wind, the water and the earth. With the possibility to have 360-degree view and fly above Armenia through the helicopter, the hot air balloon, and paragliding. To feel the immense emotion, the thrill of the ziplining, and experiencing the free fall and the scream of your soul through rope jumping. Transitioning from the element of air and wind to the water, we now flow down the rivers of Armenia, rafting in the Zoraget River, in the luscious Lori, or perhaps you prefer rafting in the winter on the snow. Explore off the beaten path and inaccessible routes through canyoning. Enjoy the peace, isolation, and balance by kayaking and subboarding. Blending to the routes, the rock climbing and the hiking, and reaching our final destination where it all started, the underground world. To embark on the unknown, sometimes through the narrowest of the paths, to experience and observe the ultimate darkness, the absence of light, which then opens up to the wondrous space, to the universe within the cave system. And as we always say with our team members, we're dusty, muddy, but happy. And this is what adventure tourism is in Armenia.
Hello from Armenia. 10 years ago, we started the TUMO project. It's a free of charge after-school program for teenagers from 12 to 18. They come and they learn about technology and design. It's the intersection of technology and design. Our vision was to give the Yerevan kids the opportunity to participate in this program. But back then and until now, since 10 years, we realized that it was very important to give this opportunity to every Armenian young adult. So since then we have expanded. We have 4 centers in Armenia, and we just recently launched a big project called Armenia Expansion, which has 16 hubs and several 110 boxes. Let me tell you what boxes are. Boxes are little TUMOs, compact TUMOs, fully equipped, that give opportunity in remote villages and small cities to participate in the program and then interact with the hub and go to the hub where they have their workshops and the learning labs. Why tech? Not only tech is important in Armenia, and Armenia was during the Soviet time a very strategic place for technology, but also these days Armenia is playing a very important role in the tech industry and in the tech map. We are seeing more and more very successful, amazing companies growing, giving birth here and growing and succeeding in the tech market. And that's why tech is very important for Armenia and for our students. We are preparing the dough for these companies, and the startups and the big tech companies that are succeeding are coming to Armenia from overseas and in Armenia itself to hire those professionals. And for Armenia in general and for the development of Armenia, I would say that this is one area and one of the most important areas that Armenia will succeed and is succeeding as we speak. Working with young adults from the age of 12, giving them the opportunity to succeed, giving them the opportunity to understand, to pick, to choose, to have a dream is very important for Armenia and for young adults in the world. I hope we will encourage you to join our initiative, and you're of course welcome to come and visit us whenever you want.
This is the end of our virtual tour. We have managed to meet Knari, Narazat, the brave Ali, the hospital Nivar, and energetic Kiroki, and the wise Marie, who with her vision about education in Armenia. These are different people. They feel and perceive Armenia in different ways, but they are in love with this great country and will be happy to welcome you in Armenia. I do hope that the next year will be favorable for all of us and will be able to meet face to face as part of our 18th conference. Thank you and see you in Armenia.
Я должен это сделать, потому что это действительно
I
заслуживает.
have to do it because it deserves a round of applause. The cultural program has been great. Lily, thank you very much to you and to all of the colleagues from the Armenian Central Depository who helped you to create this masterpiece. We managed to feel Armenia, and I do hope that the audience felt as if we have just visited Armenia. And of course, we'd love to visit your country physically. Thank you very much for this wonderful trip, and we are looking forward to seeing all that, to tasting all that delicious food and see everything with our eyes. Thank you for the opportunity to share and show all this. Now, colleagues, you will have an opportunity to meet some of our members in session rooms. We have the Russian Central Depository, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Belarus, and Armenia. Each participant has its own program that you can learn about when you go to our website. I'd like to remind you that our program today is going to be very saturated, busy, and exciting, and we're looking forward to welcoming you there. Just some information about the breakout rooms. The Central Depository of Russia of Armenia will talk about its online app in English. The Belarus Central Depository will talk about its activities in depository and information services. They speak English and Russian, therefore everyone is welcome. And you can join them. The NSDL of India will talk about new digital initiatives. The language is English. Our Kazakhstan Central Depository colleagues will talk about the current trends and infrastructure projects in Kazakhstan and at the Kazakhstan stock exchange and Central Depository. The languages are English and Russian. The Russian Central Depository will talk about services, information services at the marketplace. The colleagues will present in Russian, but everyone speaks English, therefore you're welcome. The Ukrainian Central Depository will talk about the changes in the Ukrainian capital market and the pandemic challenges for the Ukrainian Central Depository and their clients. The language is Russian, and the Korean Central Depository will tell us about itself and the services provided and forward-looking plans. And we'll share a cultural program. The language is English. So this is where we close the work in this main room, and we are looking forward to welcoming you in breakout rooms where we can not only get important information, but talk and communicate with our colleagues. Thank you very much. See you soon. I need to check whether you can hear me. Yes, Boris, we can hear you. I'm not using my headset. I've left my headset, so I'm using a different one. Everything is fine. Colleagues, I'd like to remind you that breakout rooms may be found at the bottom of the Zoom screen, and you can choose the session rooms you're interested in, and you can actually go from one breakout room to another. That's it. Thank you.